reimbursement. Even after the release, co-chairs of the Joint Finance Committee, Representative Mark Bourne and Senator Howard Markline, said in a joint statement they still have concerns about the county's receipts. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, happy 25th Amendment Monday. Happy Impeachment 2.0 Monday.
Yes. Happy Impeachment 2.0 Crudy to you. Fancy Brian, our fair audience. Thank you for joining us. Wow. What a weekend. Good to be with you, my friend.
Happy Cancel the Conservatives Monday.
Oof. Happy Donald Trump has no Twitter feed anymore Monday. Aw.
Doesn't that bring you some glee? I mean, the fact that Donald Trump has effectively been canceled from Twitter permanently, and then the whole righty-whitey platform of Parler, the whole platform's been canceled. You cannot get on Parler anymore. And
Apple took it off the app. Google took it off the apps. Amazon canceled the servers. And now apparently they're filing a lawsuit against Amazon.
Yeah, they're going to bleed them dry. Bezos will never be able to sustain that litigation, Dom. Good luck with that, Parler.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
And the misunderstanding of the First Amendment violations, really, this country, I have no wonder why the Trumpster cult was led like they were, deceived as they were with this nonsense, because they have no sense of what the laws and what Constitution actually means. This is not the government silencing, quote unquote, President Trump. And he is the president. He can call a press conference right now, and say whatever the hell he wants.
In his house. He's got a press room in the White House. He lives there, supposedly, right?
Right.
I mean, I know he spends most of his time on the golf course, or perhaps at Mar-a-Lago of late, but he does live at the White House. He does have a press briefing room. He does have a direct dial to Sean Hannity. And I suspect anytime he wanted to, accepting a few Cumulus shows of late, I suspect he could go peddle his propaganda directly to righty-whitey talk radio. Do you see?
I'm sure he can.
Rush Limbaugh also canceled his Twitter account.
Oh, no, he
deleted
did it himself.
Self-deleted.
Yes.
You know what? I'm going to delete my own Twitter account in honor of Trump and Rush and the fact that I don't tweet. So it's not much of a loss. Apparently, Rush not a big fan of the cesspool that is the social
hell, if he's
medias.
going to get off of Twitter, he may as well just get off the airwaves while he's at it. He wasn't backing down. He made some comment about how he's glad, the forefathers didn't acquiesce to, uniting and continued to fight. I'm paraphrasing, but much like Trump, much like many of the other righty talkers and instigators and insurrectionists, Rush Limbaugh, he's still there saying the same thing.
And I realize we've got audience listening, newer audience in AM 950 in Minneapolis, and our pals out there on the leftist coast, up there in Humboldt County, KGOE in Eureka, California, and all across the nation on the live stream at darnwi.com. But we got some of the most notorious righty-whitey talkers around, Tom, right up the dial here. And Dan O'Donnell, you know the guy, they call him Clan O'Donnell now. And I thought I had something of a personal relationship with Dan, although I stopped listening to a show except in small doses. because it's sedition radio. And it is amazing to me that they're doing commercially viable sedition radio. And in fact, they've got sponsors. They worked into the tapestry of the sedition this morning, like a wealth management guy. Like, oh yeah, all down for the sedition.
Well, inciting a riot. I mean, it does motivate people. I mean, if you're going to tell people to storm the Capitol, some may listen.
Above and beyond that, Dom, I got a little legal education from Clan O'Donnell, and the thing he was doing, let's just say, defending the president, because he says you cannot directly show link between the incitement and the violence that happened at the U.S. Capitol. And of course, he's being impeached for that. Impeachment resolutions were introduced in the House of Representatives today. And there was also a resolution that would, let's just say, encourage the cabinet and the vice president, Mike Pence, to utilize the 25th Amendment. And they try to do that, through unanimous consent. And the Republicans said, no, you won't.
No.
So they will take the vote tomorrow, and that will be the encouragement for the 25th Amendment. That's going to happen on Tuesday, my understanding of the reporting thereof, Dom. And then on Wednesday, as quickly as Wednesday, a formal vote in the House of Representatives, a one-article impeachment resolution saying effectively Donald Trump incited violence, incited insurrection against the U.S. government. Kind of a big deal, some would say, Dom.
I mean, it used to be, but nowadays with Trump, we've just continually lowered the bar. And really, I mean, it was terrible, but like so many Republicans, isn't it time just to move on and unite?
Well, Dominic, unite behind violent protest at all 50 state capitals. That's the newest, right? The FBI warning state capitals. And we heard word from newsman Luke Mathers here at the station. The Wisconsin state capitol being boarded up currently as we speak by the Department of Administration. And by this weekend, there is threats of violent protest at all the state capitals. And I would be curious what they intend to do about it. And Dominic, I would point out this next week, about a week from Wednesday, the inauguration of Joe Biden couldn't come any sooner. But it is being recently reported within the last 5 minutes, Washington Post telling us they're going to dispatch 15,000 National Guard troops to keep the peace at the Joe Biden inauguration. And Joe Biden said earlier today, well, I'm not afraid to say the oath in public. Well, I suspect they'll have corridors substantially larger kind of shut down. But Dominic, pardon me, we've been questioning how big was that violent crowd, that Trump crowd last week. And I gave you my early estimates. I said 3, maybe 5,000, not much bigger than that. I've seen large crowds. That was not a exceptionally large crowd. And now
many of the righties are saying multiple hundreds of thousands.
They're full of crap.
400,000 is what they are telling people.
Yeah, and Trump had millions at his inauguration. We were there, Don. That might have had hundreds of thousands, but this protest, we've now seen numbers. We've seen it reported at the Washington Post. We saw other numbers being reported on MSNBC today, 5,000 to 10,000. And there were 1,400 Capitol police officers on duty that day. And I would ask you, I realize the numbers, overwhelming if you're going to have a fist fight, if you're going to let them take the fencing and through the sheer mass of the humanity, push back the cops and break into the Capitol. But those are armed cops, right?
Yeah.
They could have stopped that real quick.
Yeah, but the crowd was, mostly white. So, you don't want to shoot them. And they're Trump supporters. So, can't possibly defend property.
So what happens when people with long rifles, AR-15s and the sort, start descending upon state capitals this weekend and decide they're going to stick around, do a little protesting, shake things up, maybe hang a politician or two if they think it's warranted?
Well, I wonder if they're going to be carrying their back the blue flags, back the badge. Hell, some of those people, according to BuzzFeed, in the Capitol, carrying those kinds of flags and admonished by Capitol Police themselves, say, how can you carry that flag and rush in here? The guy was a cop. He showed him his badge and told the Capitol Police officer, I am doing this for you.
Well, Dominic,
Scary stuff. Briefly, Chris, I want to throw this out there real quick. The FBI received information in recent days on a group calling for storming as a quote, state, local, and federal government courthouses and administrative buildings in the event President Donald Trump is removed from office prior to Inauguration Day. The group is also planning to storm government offices in every state the day President-elect Joe Biden will be inaugurated, regardless of whether the state certified electoral votes for Biden or Trump. Quote, the FBI received information about an identified armed group intending to travel to Washington, D.C. on 16 January, the bulletin reads. They have warned that if Congress attempts to remove POTUS via the 25th Amendment, a huge uprising will occur. Well, obviously, if that happens, I don't think they're going to be supporting the law and order back the badge anymore, because they're going to get involved with an armed conflict with those that are charged with protecting the peace and law and order, literally the cops, the Capitol Police.
Dominic, we've now seen video. This was a well-recorded event in history. And it was much more violent.
Insurrection in human history.
I mean, there were plenty of jackasses just walking around aimlessly in the Capitol, spreading feces or whatever it is that Republicans do when they're in the U.S. Capitol. But Dominic, it was extremely violent as well. We've now seen videotapes, and we now understand that the arrests have begun. And that perhaps the most heartwarming of all, Tom. You know, I don't like to see a man arrested unless he's a domestic terrorist, let's just say. And then it makes me feel just fine. And you've seen the movie Goodfellas, right? Do you remember when the bad times started, when the black helicopters and everyone started going down, they got arrested? You know, Ray Liotta's character, Henry Hill, they all got arrested, Dom, and
one by one.
Well, that, and of course, after the Lufthansa heist, many of them ended up dead in meat lockers. Jimmy didn't want to share. Well, Dominic, we play this song in honor of the many, many arrested. And the arrests, they've started coming down. And the charges, sometimes substantial. And perhaps the greatest charge of all against the president of the United States, incitement of an insurrection. And the court is impeachment. And the vote coming as soon as Wednesday. Perhaps Mike Pence will do the right thing. 25th Amendment remedy between now and Wednesday. Well, that could inspire more violence, Dom, has been threatened against state houses and courthouses. And hell, if you believe George, perhaps even against us. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open. 844-967-2789. Happy Monday to us all, including you, George.
The Devil's Advocates.
I just wanted to thank Crudy for going up to the Capitol and decorating the tree. I think it was some of your finest jackassery.
Eddie, that's a real compliment, because there's quite a history of jackassery with this man.
I'm in the legal books of the state of Wisconsin. My jackassery has been enshrined for posterity. I have set precedent with my jackassery.
I think you should take it to court, though, and you should tell the judge it's a matter of law and orderment.
Political commentary from the back of the class.
We did it. All across this nation, voters like you turned out in record numbers to elect Joe Biden. Now, it's time to come together to address the issue that matter most, tackling climate change, expanding access to healthcare, ensuring racial justice, and putting Americans back to work. Text ACT to 668366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. MoveOn.org political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in Philadelphia. Local time is 3:05 p.m. and the temperature is 67 degrees. At this time, you are now free to use your cellular devices.
You know that feeling when you get to turn your phone on after the plane lands? You can have that feeling every time you drive. Make sure your cell phone is stowed away whenever you are behind the wheel.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in.
John Nichols, the national affairs correspondent with The Nation.
My fear is we got 50 million or more agitated Trumpsters, and reality is going to kick in. And then where do they turn that angst, John?
Oh, shoveling snow, probably. We have to accept that we've entered the internet troll stage of this country's history. I think most of these people kind of go back to wearing tinfoil hats or whatever and, living their lives. They're really not that threatening.
The devil's advocates.
Thank you for listening to Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Phone lines are open. Join us toll free at 844-967-2789. Some of you hearing us for the first time live, make sure you go to the social websites, the Devil's Advocates Radio on Facebook, at Devil Radio on Twitter.
Dominic, found a little story over at the Raw Story, and we'll get to that, and then we'll get to the phone line, see people stacking up already. But as you mentioned, the FBI warns of armed protest in all 50 states by Trump supporters continuing to try and overturn the results of the 2020 election. But there are fears that the White House is unable to defend against an insurrection like the one waged at the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday, meaning they could charge the White House, Dom. Carol Ledding, a Washington Post reporter who won the 2015 Pulitzer Prize for her investigation into the Secret Service, broke down the situation during a Monday appearance on MSNBC. So in addition to just seeing the images that we saw at the Capitol Hill on Wednesday, showing how easily a number of people, if they want to, can get into the Capitol, now there's a lot of 2020 hindsight and finger pointing. What are you reporting about who is at fault for this? She was asked, Katie, it seems really compelling right now. Then you can tell from those images that 1,400 Capitol police officers had no chance at holding off 5,000 to 8,000 to 10,000 extremely violent, extremely aggressive rioters. People can't call this a demonstration. There are people, these people hit that fence and started taking apart parts of it to hit police officers with it. So there was very little chance. As for the blame game, which is always part of the Washington after action report, it seems as though there were critical moments when the National Guard and Army Secretary hesitated in the middle of the crisis when a police chief was begging for help at the Capitol and had people storming through the doors and was pleading to send reinforcements and was told, we don't really like the visuals of having the National Guard holding a police line in front of the Capitol. This was not a moment to wait and dither, she explained. It is clear that the Capitol Police should have planned better for this, but there is no chance the force would have been able to stop this group. I have to add one intensely worrisome thing. There is no chance for the White House to be protected if this group were to come at it. This is a big concern for the next 9 days as we prepare for an inauguration. If they want to charge the mound, they could charge the White House. Although I now understand, Dom, from the Washington Post separate reporting, 6,000 Guard troops in D.C. currently, about 10,000 by the weekend, and about 15,000 by the time Joe Biden gets inaugurated next week. Let's hope he's got a few extra hands if he needs some help with the moving.
844-967-2789, certainly concerning armed groups. How this even gets to this point is beyond me. Let's get some callers. It's been a one hell of a weekend.
Is it time to start
on this
dominating the domestic terrorists? What would Trump do if they were Black Lives Matter protesters? He would dominate them.
Where's the FBI? Where's Homeland Security? Where are the press conferences? Where's the video? Where's the perp walks? We're getting these reports. That's fine from the media, but where the hell is the federal government addressing the people about this incursion? And now they're going to tell us through the media that, well, you might be out of SOL if they ever did this to the White House. I mean, are you kidding me? Where is the response? And I got to tell you, man, if you're going to tell me the Capitol Police were asking the Pentagon for help 6 times and all those kinds of stories, and I have to wonder, what was the purpose of Donald Trump shuffling some of these roles at the Pentagon, a month or two ago?
to lay the
I mean,
groundwork for the
where's the
coup
freaking
d'etat.
investigation?
844-967-2789. Derek from Milwaukee. Welcome, Derek. What do you got for us?
Hey, Derek.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Now we can, Derek.
Yes, we can.
Turn down the radio, though.
I think I got it on speaker.
Well, don't do that.
Well, since I'm able to talk to you, then what I would like to say is, where was the National Guard?
They apparently called off the National Guard. They didn't want the visual.
That was against the government. And all we get is excuses, the same I've been hearing all my life when white people do something. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent point, Derek.
Yeah, Derek, thanks for the call, man. And you're absolutely right. Another one of the big hypocrisies of this event. Bunch of Trump supporters, so it's all okay then. Or at least they don't certainly get the reaction that would have been that obviously that BLM got when they were in D.C.
844-967-2789. Fred from Cottage Grove. Welcome, Fred. What do you got for us?
Good afternoon, guys. Now you're
Hey,
mentioning
Fred.
about all 50 state capitals and stuff. There's a picture on MSNBC 15 about they're boarding up the Capitol windows on the lower level.
Yeah, that's our understanding as well, Fred. They're boarding up the Wisconsin State Capitol as we speak.
And the other thing in that article was on the 6th, there was protests, cars going around with Trump flags and banners and stuff and honking horns and everything else. That's the first I ever heard about that.
It wasn't well attended, but there were apparently a number of cars, sort of a Trumpster caravan, and they went honking around the Capitol Square. We mentioned it on that day. It was not a overly large event and didn't lead to any violence, Fred. You know, maybe if they just stormed the Capitol and tried to take Tony Evers hostage, we'd have talked more about it.
Thanks for the call, Fred. 844-967-2789. It is really stunning, and it has been so hard to digest all the different facets and all the different moving parts of the story. But at the end of the day, it wasn't Antifa. And I get it, Trumpsters. You're not happy that this was your crowd, but admit it, this was your crowd. And if you think that, something terrible has been done, that somehow this election was stolen, perhaps you could consider that maybe more people don't agree with the policies and politics that you agree with. Have you ever think that maybe you don't have the most popular line of thought? I'm just throwing that out there, folks.
844-967-2789. I saw some people yanked off of airplanes, crying like bitches because they're on the no-fly list suddenly. What, I'm a terrorist? Yes, you're a terrorist. More devils.
If I can take on 100,000 protesters, I can do the same across the world.
Now go home and get your f***ing shine box.
Here's how you get them. If they bring a beer, you bring an old-fashioned. If they bring cheese curds, you bring a casserole. That's how you make friends. That's the Wisconsin way. That's Devil Radio.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates, inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
Get ready to get local. Saturdays at 11 a.m., Dane by Local and 92.7 FM Devil Radio bring you Let's Get Local, a new program featuring area businesses and nonprofits that make our community unique and special. So tune in Saturdays and go.
I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. The FBI is warning of plans for armed protests at all 50 state capitals and in Washington, D.C., leading up to next week's inauguration of Joe Biden. Biden says the people behind the deadly violence at the Capitol must be punished.
I think it's critically important that there be a real serious focus on holding those folks who engage in sedition and threaten people's lives, deface public property, cause great damage, that they be held accountable.
Meantime, the process has started to impeach President Trump for a second time. The House will meet Wednesday to consider impeachment for incitement of insurrection at the Capitol. This is Rhode Island Democrat David Cicilline.
This is urgent. This president represents a real danger to our democracy.
Republicans blocked a measure today calling for a quick removal of President Trump. I'm Ed Donahue.
Is your bathroom looking old and worn out? Want to update it, but you don't know where to start? Then let BCI Bath & Shower show you how to turn that old bath into an aisle of beauty and functionality. Our residential bathroom solutions provide the best value on the market, and our customer service is second to none. Our cost-effective BCI Bath & Shower family of products has what you need.
Remodeling our bathroom was a big decision for us.
They didn't make a mess out of our house at all. And at the end of the day, we had a beautiful new bathroom. And it was a great experience the whole way through.
We have the best monthly payment programs in the industry, with payments as low as $68 per month or no interest, no payments for 18 months. That's right. Get the bathroom of your dreams now and pay for it in 2021. Call 1-800-303-2352 for a free no-obligation price quote. That's 1-800-303-2352. When you want quality bathroom products at a great price, it's got to be BCI Bath & Shower. That's 1-800-303-2352.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Monday, January 11th. Assisted living residents in Wisconsin will begin receiving the COVID-19 vaccine in late January, state health officials said Thursday, weeks later than most other states. Wisconsin will be one of the last states in the country to activate the federal program for vaccinating people who live and work in assisted living. Through the program, pharmacies are sending vaccination teams to most long-term care facilities across the country to inoculate their residents and staff on site. The Burlington Area School District has placed a teacher on administrative leave after he told students he would travel to Washington, D.C. to stand up for election integrity and shared voter fraud conspiracy theories in class. Areas of freezing fog this morning with cloudy skies throughout the day, high today of 30 degrees, low of 25 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dominic, a little local news, but it affects our friends in Minneapolis as well. St. Croix County Republican Party, that's the one right across the river, Minneapolis, tells members to prepare for war and to remove leftist tyrants from local office. A little bit from this article, Daniel Bice, the fine journalist, don't assume the events from the MAGA insurrection at the U.S. Capitol last week led Republicans around the country to tone down their political rhetoric. Just visit the homepage for the St. Croix Republican Party. Scrawled across the top of the page is the Latin phrase, Sibi pecum para bellum, which I'm sure has been mispronounced, but here's the translation. If you want peace, prepare for war. Political patriots are then encouraged to join the digital battlefield. It's time to stand and be counted as a conservative warrior on the ongoing fight to preserve our constitutional republic, the homepage says. We need to start local by removing leftist tyrants from all local and county positions in the future April elections. At least they plan on using the electoral process
until they lose.
Dominic, after accusing the Marxist left and the complicit media.
That's you, Crudy.
And you, Dominic, of trying to overturn the results of the 2016 presidential election. The St. Croix Republican Party says Democrats were busy sowing misspelled chaos and using every dirty trick imaginable to win in 2020. One more quote. President Trump radically changed the Republican Party in 2016. They got that part right. Now it is up to us to follow that lead. Patriots need to continue to fight to make sure that we put America and its citizens first and hold all of our elected representatives accountable to their oaths to uphold the Constitution. Fighting words, lots of them. And John Kraft, the chairman of the St. Croix Republican Party, isn't backing down or taking down the post, despite a request from the state GOP to do so. The Western Wisconsin County is part of a growing community between Eau Claire and Minneapolis. Kraft is an IT professional, said the message was up before last Wednesday's violent Trump-inspired revolt at the Capitol, and he can't help but twisted inferences local Democrats choose to attribute to it. You know, it predated the violence, so I can't take it down now. I don't know how to delete this thing. I'm an IT professional. 844-967-2789. Jeff from Minneapolis. That's nearly your neck of the woods, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Jeez, thanks for putting me after that. That's crap.
You're on the correct side of the river, I hope. Be careful over there in Minneapolis.
Oh, geez. Yeah, we're on the right. He's an hour away, but still, it doesn't make him any less smart. Okay, so my whole reason for my call is I think this was a lot more nefarious. The insurrection at the White House, I think it was a lot more nefarious than people are even letting on.
The Capitol, they were perhaps thinking about the White House, but you're right, man. They were there to hang Mike Pence, weren't they?
Well, no. This was a planned attack. I mean, the FBI stopped 14 of the worst with warrants before they traveled to Washington, D.C. Now, on top of that, if you look at it, the reason Hawley and what's his nuts? Why am I drawing a blank?
Ted Cruz.
Anyway, Ted Cruz, thank you. The reason they objected to this is to delay it by 2 more hours so they had more time to get in the door.
Well, I know Hawley was out there raising a fist to him, and I knew when you said, what's his nuts, you had to mean Ted Cruz. Jeff, appreciate you listening. We got lots of people stacking up. Want to keep moving down the phones at 844-967-2789. Shane from Poinet, you're next. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Hello, Shane.
Well, hi. Over the weekend, I happened to read about the Republican Attorney General's Association, and
oh no, Shane, what happened? Oh, you're back. We heard Republican Attorney General's Association. Last time I heard of that outfit, I think Brad Schimmel was a part.
Oh, they were doing robocalls, Shane.
Yeah, well, they were putting out the word to show up 1 o'clock in D.C., and I think we should go after some of the intellectual engineers of this whole thing. That's what we do with terrorism. We go after the funders, not just the foot soldiers. And if we've got the Mercers involved in spreading their propaganda with the Stop the Steal, supporting the big lie, those are the funders of this movement, and we should hold them to account. I think Josh Call should get involved in bringing some lawsuits against some of these people that are operating in the state here.
What about Clarence Thomas's wife? She apparently a big supporter of the insurrection.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just the people that were there doing the damage, but I mean, you could really say that some of our own, Tom Tiffany is one of the leaders, really, and Scott Fitzgerald. If they're advocating, overthrowing an election, what does that make them?
Well, Republicans around here,
they used to call them traitors and insurrectionists, but now it's just the Trump Republican Party.
I don't have a lot of expertise.
The right-wing talk radio, the defense of this, and we'll take more callers. Just let me make a point for a minute. 844-967-2789. The Brandenburg decision against the state of Ohio was effectively a free speech decision that said, there wasn't a direct link in the law in the state of Ohio, apparently a little too broad. I don't want to pretend like I'm a lawyer, but effectively used the Ku Klux Klan as a point of defense for Donald Trump and said, well, if the Klan didn't incite violence or it was unconstitutional, the violence they were trying to incite too broad, apparently not specifically enough generated or directed, and the time frame a little too disparate between when they said, be violent and a proposed rally in Washington, D.C. on July 4th. But I see quite a difference in this Brandenburg ruling, and maybe timing does play some factor, Dom.
Yeah.
The call to arms was effectively immediately before the insurrection happened at the U.S. Capitol, and Donald Trump was a part of that. And it wasn't him in a vacuum. It was Mo Brooks. It was Rudy Giuliani calling for what? Election by combat, mortal combat,
trial by combat. And this is the culmination of literally months of disinformation, more than that. I mean, Trump played his hand on the fraud card because he probably knew he was going to lose a long time ago. And then they sent out the fundraising. Remember join the Trump army. Remember that part? All you patriot soldiers out there. A couple things of what Trump said. Republicans, and this is from the New York Times, of a transcription of the speech that he gave prior to the insurrection. Republicans are constantly fighting like a boxer with his hands tied behind his back. It's like a boxer, and we want to be nice. We want to be so respectful of everybody, including bad people, and we're going to have to fight much harder. We're going to walk down to the Capitol. We're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength. You have to be strong, and it gets better. When you catch somebody in a fraud, you are allowed to go by very different rules, Trump said. So I hope Mike has the courage to do what he has to, and I hope he doesn't listen to the rhinos and the stupid people that he is listening to. Yeah, that's the way. I hope Mike's going to do the right thing. I hope so. Because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. And I just spoke to Mike. I said, Mike, that doesn't take courage. What takes courage is to do nothing. That takes courage. Actually, I think that it takes more courage not to step up. I think a lot of people are going to find that out. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. And that's what this is all about. And to use a favorite term that all you people really come up with, we will stop the steal. He goes on, you will have an illegitimate president. That is what you will have, and we can't let that happen. These are the facts that you won't hear from the fake news media. It's all part of the suppression effort. They don't want to talk about it. We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
See, nothing like Brandenburg. I'm sorry, what was that?
We're like the stupid people.
Nothing.
We're going to walk down. I'll walk with you. I'll be there with you. We are going to the Capitol, going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country. Sounds like inciting to me. And again, that speech, if that was the only thing that had been in context for the situation, certainly less of a big deal, perhaps. Still seemingly inciting. But again, this has been festering. The seed corn for this was planted long ago, and right-wing talk radio and right-wing media have been on it, and they've been using it to sell commercials and advertising.
844-967-2789. Kyle from Cottage Grove. Welcome, Kyle. What do you got for us?
Hey, Kyle.
Well, hi. How you doing, guys? Great job. I was just curious as what the NRA is saying. I haven't heard anything about them or from them. I did a Google search, and I'll take your comments offline. Where are they?
The last time I heard the NRA referenced was in regard to the attorney that was on the call, the Foley and Laudner partner, Cheetah, or whatever her name was. She apparently also was counsel for the NRA, and she was in on the phone call last weekend, not this most recent, but the prior weekend, when the president of the United States threatened an election official, shook him down, and tried to extort him to go find 11,780 votes while the attorney for the NRA was online. She has subsequently resigned from her firm. But more than that, I haven't heard from the NRA. They got their own problems.
Yeah, they do.
Kyle, appreciate your call, man. 844-967-2789. Let me try again. Profane Ronnie. Welcome back, Ronnie. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Ronnie.
Hey, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong, but all these people saying, that the election was stolen. How could Biden ever possibly win? backyard rallies with 6 people. From prior to the Democratic, the primaries, when they put out a poll asking, can a generic Democrat win or will Trump win? A generic Democrat won. When 20 Democrats were in the primary, I think almost all of them, except for, Marianne Williams and stuff like that, the top people, they were all beating Trump. When it got narrowed down to 3 in the primary, they all were beating Trump. When it got down to Biden, all the polls, didn't the entire time that the polls showed that the Democrat would beat Trump?
Yes. The entirety of the time, Ronnie, and here.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Joe Biden fan, but he's the president we've got, hopefully starting next Wednesday. But
Ronnie,
Ronnie,
he's better than what we got.
Well, certainly he's better than Donald Trump. But the Trumpsters don't seem to realize is Donald Trump inspired more voters than any person in the history of mankind. He inspired 75 million for himself and over 80 million for Joe Biden.
Yeah. Well, and so again, the polls were right though. This time, but and not that I put all my faith in the polls, but the fact that they're just like dumbfounded that Biden could win.
They're so Ronnie, they're so shocked. And sorry, we got to go to break here in a minute. Thank you for the call, my friend. They're so shocked. I think to myself, given everything that's happened, the impeachment, 360,000 Americans dead from COVID, his lying, the issues that we have. I can't believe Trump was even in the running for the presidency. The shock should be that Biden didn't win by more. And by the way, all you flag-loving Trumpsters out there, what'd you think about the break-in at the Capitol, or when the mob rushed the walls and the scaffolding, they tore down the actual American flag and put up the Trump flag? What do you think about that?
Well, they would say that is the actual American flag. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, many more of your phone calls. 844-967-2789.
The president in no way, form, or fashion has ever promoted or encouraged violence. I think anytime the president has a chance to speak directly to the American people, it's a good thing.
The Devil's Advocates.
Darren from Madison tells us he's a former Capitol Police officer.
You can't even compare the two of what happened, yesterday and with Act 10.
Darren, did you, as a Capitol Police officer, ever witness any violence in the Wisconsin State Capitol?
Nope, not at all. It's about as peaceful can be when it comes to peaceful protesting. It was an unlawful assembly, but at the end of the day, there was no violence at the end of the day. It was people coming in and singing.
Listen to Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
Biden won because of you. Because you stayed in line to vote even when you got tired. Because you knew that your vote is power. Because you understood what was at stake. And because you showed up, we now have the power. Text ACT to 668-366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. MoveOn.org. Political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates, inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever. Eric Holder, he's the former U.S. Attorney General and current chair of the National Democratic Redistricting Committee.
The notion that Scott Walker is saying that we are doing something to push partisan gerrymandering, that is the pot calling the kettle total black. I mean, that's absurd. He is one of the architects of among the most gerrymandered states in the union. All we're pushing for is a fair process come 2021.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we keep skimming over the perhaps violent intent of the domestic terrorists that showed up at the U.S. Capitol. They showed up with gallows. They showed up with zip ties.
Oh, the gallows, they had a sign on it that said, "This is art." So that made it all different.
Well, Dominic, I would say they showed up with bad intent. There were reports that more than one person was shouting, "Let's hang Mike Pence." And I would point out the vice president was in the chambers and had to be whisked away. And Donald Trump
Hang Mike Pence was a chant by literally dozens of people. It was echoing through the halls. Initially, I'd seen it reported. Then I saw a Reuters photographer, I believe, was initially quoted. And then the video came out of all these Trumpsters chanting in unison, "Hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence."
They want to help him find his courage down to stand up and overturn the electoral will of the people of the United States and do Trump's bidding. It all makes sense when you look at it from that perspective.
I mean, it's backcrap crazy.
Now,
these Republicans.
We saw it reported, and we'll get back to the phones momentarily at 844-967-2789. It's been reported Donald Trump has been advised by multiple legal advisors, including Pat Cipollone, that he could not self-pardon. So, of course, the proper way to do it is the Nixon way. You step down, you make the vice president the president, and then he pardons you. But if you're Mike Pence and you were at the U.S. Capitol last week when the guy was inciting a riot, inciting domestic terrorism, when they came marching, looking for Mike Pence, let's hang him high, right? And now Trump's supposed to put all his eggs in the Mike Pence basket. He's supposed to step down. I mean, this is a guy that has not denied that he would consider 25th Amendmenting Donald Trump right now. Just looking for the right incentive. Apparently, them trying to hang his ass, not enough incentive up until now. But can you imagine if Donald Trump stepped down and Pence said, "No pardon"? No pardon. I think you'd almost have to.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of headwinds for citizen Trump in 9 days, and I agree with you. I mean, if you're looking forward to Pence for any sort of protection or cover on this, that's probably not the way to do it. But again, you got to remember, this is Donald Trump. He is the narcissist. He's not looking for Pence for a damn thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if he considers pardoning every single one of those false Christian, false patriot domestic terrorists that ransacked the Capitol.
It almost seems logical, doesn't it? Almost seems like it's inevitable.
Yeah.
844-967-2789. Our pal Mark from the SAC. Welcome back. What do you got?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's the comment from our friend from the cities there. What's his nuts? I mean, that the Republicans have all surrendered their testicles to Donald Trump. I mean, they were all never Trumpers, and now they're all, they've become the party of Trump. I mean, it is just disgusting that this guy, who we know is a narcissist, serial rapist, that they've embraced this guy. I mean, it's just disgusting, and he was inciting. And let's note the Republican Party chair out there in St. Croix County. Notice the little Republican emblem there with the upside-down stars on it the Republicans have adopted, where they flip the star upside down, the 5-pointed star upside down. Well, that's the goat head. I mean, you guys are the devil's advocates on Devil's Radio, but those guys actually have embraced a satanic symbol to represent the party. So which God are they invoking? Is it the God?
Hey, satanic, at least it's still Christian, Mark.
God?
They do say Trump's the chosen one, don't they?
Yeah, it's something else. I mean, that Trump, these guys are inciting violence, and Scott Walker
and Mark, they don't seem to be backing away. They should be, pushing back. Every single Republican should stand up and say, oh, hell no. We're the party of law and order. This is wrong. This is terrible. There's been a couple, but you still had how many? 140 Republicans go along with this. And I got to say, I did see some reporting of Meyer, a newly elected congressman, I believe, from Michigan. And the headline was essentially, well, they were concerned for their families if they didn't vote the way they did. And I'm thinking to myself, really? So as a sitting congressman, you are going to allow the mob to influence you to vote against certifying the election? You're going to allow the mob to use you for unconstitutional means. And you're some sort of leader? You're some sort of elected official? What the hell is that?
Well, he didn't want the mob showing up at his house, apparently, Dom. 844-967-2789. Our pal Doogie from Chicago. Welcome back, Doogie. Been too long.
Hey, Doogie, what's happening?
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one. So my analogy is much like a dog chasing a car, and then the dog finally grabs a hold of the bumper. Okay, you got a hold of it. Now what are you going to do with it? A lot of these Trump humpers went traveled all the way to D.C., and they got in, and they're like, okay, now what do we do? What are you going to do with it? So my question is, like, really, to a lot of these imbeciles, what do you really want? I mean, what are you actually fighting for? Was it worth
right? What liberties have you lost, Doogie?
Podium?
The right to tweet.
I mean,
violently, as the case may be.
A fan that I just want my person on TV so I can see him every day and just talk and mumble. And I mean, a lot of them really just don't have a plan, and I don't think they even believe what they're fighting for. They don't have a clue.
I think you're right. And unfortunately, Duke, I think some of them may have had more nefarious purposes and perhaps more of a plan, and an investigation might reveal what that is. But, mob rules, and Trump riled him up. He's been doing it for years, and it's not surprising. A lot of unanswered questions, but hopefully those will be forthcoming. Go ahead, Brian.
It reminds me of when I throw out a drunk person out of the bar who fights to get back in. Okay, so you fought past the door guys and you got in. Hey, I beat up the door guy. Serve me a drink. What are you going to do, man?
Right. And then again, just to Doogie's point, as comparing these Trumpsters as the dog chasing the car and finally grabbing the bumper, what do you do then? Well, if you're the dog, you blame the cat, because they're all saying it was Antifa. They can't even take responsibility for it was evidently their mob rules.
We would never chase cars or catch them. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Hour 2 is next. The phone lines, they remain open and toll free. 844-967-2789.
Trust me again for the words that you will hear evermore. Don't tread on me.
We will find you. We will arrest you. We will jail you. We will throw you the hell out of the country.
You're under arrest, Trump.
You were the chosen one.
There's a good chance I may have committed some light treason.
America has chosen Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to lead our country. Now it's time to get to work. Time to expand healthcare and tackle the coronavirus pandemic. Time to restore our democracy and unify our nation. It's time to put this administration to work for us. Text ACT to 668-366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. MoveOn.org. Political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hey, Rocker, I heard you have a rye whiskey. I do, Jimmy. Rocker Rye Whiskey. The mash is a high rye with a touch of malted barley that makes it yummy. And Rocker Rye Whiskey is dedicated to the Madison music scene? It sure is, Jimmy. You can read the story on the back of the bottle at any of these fine locations. Star Liquor, Woodman's, Trixie's Liquor, Vic Pierce, Miller & Sons in Verona, Steve's Liquor, Total Wine, and enjoy Rocker Rye Whiskey at the Lazy Oaf Lounge and Sal's Dark Horse. Find out more at rockervodka.com.
You're listening to W224EG and WTTN 1580 AM, always streaming at devilradio927.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The FBI is issuing a warning leading up to Joe Biden's inauguration next week. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
An internal bulletin warns of plans for armed protests at all 50 state capitals and here in Washington, leading to more fears of violence after last week's deadly Capitol riot. That followed weeks of online calls for violence here in the Trump administration's waning days. The National Guard Bureau's chief says the Guard is looking at any issues around the country to make sure it's ready to give support if asked. He says at least 10,000 troops will be deployed in Washington by Saturday, and another 5,000 may be requested, amid questions about why the Guard was not brought in more quickly as the Capitol riot unfolded. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is telling people to stay away on Inauguration Day.
Trumpism won't die on January 20, but our American values and our DC values are stronger than one extreme ideology.
The House will meet Wednesday to consider impeaching President Trump for incitement of insurrection at the Capitol. This is House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer.
We have a president who most of us believe participated in encouraging an insurrection and attack on this building and on democracy.
Democrats are trying to convince Vice President Mike Pence and the cabinet to force the president out using the 25th Amendment. There is a new twist. New Jersey Democratic Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman says she tested positive for the coronavirus and believes she was exposed during isolation at the Capitol Wednesday. Meantime, in California,
we continue to see a substantial number of people losing their lives to this pandemic.
More than 30,000 have died in California. The governor of Mississippi signed a bill giving the state a new flag that no longer carries the Confederate battle emblem. This is AP News.
Is your bathroom looking old and worn out? Want to update it, but you don't know where to start? Then let BCI Bath & Shower show you how to turn that old bath into an aisle of beauty and functionality. Our residential bathroom solutions provide the best value on the market, and our customer service is second to none. Our cost-effective BCI Bath & Shower family of products has what you need.
Remodeling our bathroom was a big decision for us.
They didn't make a mess out of our house at all. And at the end of the day, we had a beautiful new bathroom. And it was a great experience the whole way through.
We have the best monthly payment programs in the industry, with payments as low as $68 per month or no interest, no payments for 18 months. That's right. Get the bathroom of your dreams now and pay for it in 2021. Call 1-800-303-2352 for a free no-obligation price quote. That's 1-800-303-2352. When you want quality bathroom products at a great price, it's got to be BCI Bath & Shower. That's 1-800-303-2352.
Do you know the Devil's Advocate started as a podcast, just two buddies talking into an iPad because we thought we had something to say? Do you have something to say? Let Devil Radio guide you. Launch your own broadcast quality podcast. Utilize our studios and staff, our hosting platform, and we will even promote your podcast on Devil Radio. Monthly packages start at just $295. Devil Radio's podcast platform to launch immediately after the election. Call today to learn more. 608-819-TALK.
Jimmy, crazy local music supporters have surrounded the studio. Take a look. What do the signs say? Support local music, double dipping is a right, and I love the Jimmies. What do they want?
Live local music, Jimmy. Catch MagSync Radio every Saturday evening for the best of local music from Wisconsin. Live music performed in the Devil's Lair. Go to MagSyncRadio.com for the live music schedule. It's MagSync Radio, Saturdays at 6 on Devil Radio 92.7.
Give them what they want, rocker.
South Street Motors in Sun Prairie is the local family-owned business that should be your only stop for full-service auto repair and maintenance. South Street Motors will treat you fairly and fix it right the first time. South Street Motors employs only ASE-certified technicians ready to service your car or truck. For great pricing or maintaining your entire fleet, call South Street Motors today at 608-834-3330 or find them online at southstreetmotors.com. Stream the Devils and Progressive News and Talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Monday, January 11th. After the Republican-controlled state assembly passed likely doomed COVID-19 legislation last week, Republicans in the state Senate are now planning to pass their own version of a COVID-19 plan early this week. A spokesman for Senate Majority Leader LeMahieu said the Senate Finance Committee will amend the Assembly's version and then pass the amended package during a floor session on Tuesday. Wisconsin's exports declined 7% or $1.4 billion in the first 11 months of 2020, but had trended positively for several months after plummeting in April and May as the COVID-19 pandemic set in. That trend had reversed over October and November of last year, but the numbers are not yet out for the month of December. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into hour 2, the big Monday 25th Amendment Remedy or Impeachment 2.0 edition. Dom, can it be both?
I think it is both.
They've got parallel tracks going on.
If one, then not the other. But if not one, then certainly the other.
Well, I've got to wonder about the wisdom of impeachment. Because, of course, we know that the Republicans over on the Senate side are not even going to take this up until perhaps after Joe Biden's inauguration, right? They're not even going to set a schedule to hear this until after the Biden inauguration.
That could be the case, certainly. But you know what? Too bad. Put it on their desk.
But it doesn't have the practical effect of removing Donald Trump from office. And that's the point.
But it has the practical effect of limiting him in the future. And it has the practical effect of, letting other other presidents know that this is not tolerable. This is not acceptable.
But is it necessary to do it immediately? Meaning, can we have the House vote? I heard James Clyburn over the course of the weekend. We don't want to jam up Joe Biden's first 100 days. And if there is a Senate on the, impeachment on the docket, the Senate must act. The Senate must act. So you are effectively setting the agenda for the Biden presidency, at least out of the gate. Impeach Donald Trump, impeach the last guy who presumably is already gone by the time it hits the docket.
I'm sure that the incoming president will respect the wishes and musings and prerogative of the co-equal branch of government that is the legislature. And let it be a warning to President Biden and every subsequent president that if you engage in insurrection, the legislature will impeach you as they justifiably should.
Do you think Joe Biden needs that lesson, or is that really targeted for someone else? Let me read quickly here, Dom, from the Politico. House has the votes to impeach Trump for inciting Capitol riots. On the House side, I'm going to read Kyle Cherry and others. Speaker Nancy Pelosi has a majority of support in the House to impeach President Donald Trump, part of a two-front effort to punish and remove him for inciting the deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol last week. Key members of the House Judiciary Committee introduced a single article of impeachment Monday that has already gathered at least 218 co-sponsors. See, there's already, I got a problem, Dom. You got to have at least 2 articles of impeachment. Let's throw the Raffensperger phone call in there, right? That was extortion. That was a freaking shakedown. According to a congressional aide involved in the process, meeting the majority needed in the House. Pelosi signaled Sunday night that the House would vote on the article if Trump refuses to resign, which so far he's refused. Vice President Mike Pence won't initiate other procedures to remove him, and unless he's got some sort of super secret 25th Amendment remedy, Dom, he apparently is not going to proceed forward either. So that just leaves impeachment, at least on the House side. Here's a quick vote. Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, Democrat from Maryland, to reporters. Because the time frame is so short and the need is so immediate and emergency, we will also proceed on a parallel path in terms of impeachment. Whether impeachment can pass the United States Senate is not the issue. Well, it's kind of the issue. There may well be a vote on impeachment Wednesday, he said. That, of course, would be a House vote. And I have no doubt it would have success in the House. I have no doubt that Nancy Pelosi counted her 218 votes. So there will be a sharp slap on the wrist without the immediate removal of the president of the United States and perhaps the unintended consequence of handcuffing Joe Biden's first 100 days with the impeachment of the former president who's already left office. I'm not sure if that's well rationed, well reasoned.
Okay,
good strategy.
let's set aside. So doing nothing. Do you actually think
I'm waiting for the
well, hang on. Let me finish
ahead.
my thought. Now, did you actually think that our legislators, my representative Gwen Moore in Milwaukee, do you actually think that she should do absolutely nothing? It's at the end. They beat a cop to death with perhaps Trump flags, but whatever, they just
how
got
about
out of hand.
ongoing investigations and referral to police or the FBI or whatever the appropriate measure is. But what about House investigations? You got the gavel. You can hold
House
hearings.
investigations. We don't want to hamstring the incoming executive branch, Crudy. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's not a required step. A Senate impeachment trial forces everything off the agenda.
Good.
Except the Senate impeachment.
Hang on. What is more important than
COVID-19 vaccine rollouts
right now?
Stimulus
what's
rollouts for the American people? There are a couple of important priorities on Joe Biden's agenda.
Come on, man. Listen, I appreciate that there certainly are lots of things to address in this country. But right now, the most important thing is what just happened at the Capitol. An armed insurrection prompted by the sitting president who just lost an election, who's been laying the groundwork for this for months.
And we can't entrust law enforcement to do the right thing here. And as I described, Dominic, I think that Donald Trump has sort of cooked his own goose. He has limited his own options. He's being advised a self-pardon will not work. There's already a legal opinion on the books, 1974, that the president cannot self-pardon. And the president's been told by legal counsel, can't do it yourself. So we got these insurrectionists marching on the Capitol, calling to hang Mike Pence. And Mike Pence is the only avenue to pardon the man. And we're doing this political exercise, and no doubt it's merited, but it's a political exercise if you can't ever push it through the Senate effectively, if you can't block the guy from, receiving his pension or getting travel expense for the rest of his life or Secret Service, if you can't limit the rest, then what's the point?
The point is to send a message, Crudy. The point is for the next dictator who decides to do the same thing that this president does, but is actually a little more skilled and talented at it. That's the point. To do absolutely nothing is to encourage this, and he may be one of the Republicans. It's political. Of course, it's political. So impeachments are political. The vote in the House is the vote in the Senate. It's political. Yes, the law enforcement can do their thing, but this guy, every day, every second he stays in office, is a danger, obviously, to this country. And I expect my representatives to do everything they can to try and change it. And if the only thing at their disposal is impeachment, then go after it. I have no problem with that.
Okay, a House vote for impeachment. We've been there, done that. So now we're going to see a Donald Trump, a president who's twice acquitted by a Republican-controlled Senate or a 50-50 Senate, because he's not going to get 17 votes. He might get Murkowski and Mitt Romney, Dom, but so many of these Republicans are in bed with him.
You don't know that.
Oh,
Here's my point.
Or
come on.
What's his nuts going to vote for this?
Also,
that one was for you, Ted Cruz.
Also from the Political article, although some Democrats have voiced worry about impeaching Trump with just days could hamstring the president-elect's early weeks in office, yada, yada, yada. But then new and disturbing footage included the beating of a Capitol police officer yanked out of the building by a crowd of Trump supporters. The officer in the video has not been identified, but surfaced after the news that at least one officer, as we know, Brian Sicknick, died of injuries sustained during the onslaught. Every new indication that the rioters included a more sophisticated contingent of insurrectionists has inflamed the House anew, even as Republicans have continued to express worriness, if not outright opposition, to the impeachment. Here's what I'm saying. We don't know what kind of conversations Donald Trump had with his crew that they put into the Pentagon. We haven't even done this investigation. There's a lot of facts that are going to come out. And I
not during impeachment.
I'm not suggesting that it will, but if that were to be the case, if Donald Trump had communicated with his crew that he's installed into the Pentagon to sandbag any sort of help, would that then be enough evidence for it that he should be impeached? I mean, come on, man.
Dominic,
what else do you need?
I was convinced he should be impeached for the extortionist phone call to Raffensperger, right. Trying to extort a differing outcome in Georgia, right? You and I would agree on that.
Yes, sir.
Would any Republicans other than Mitt Romney and Lisa Murkowski get on board for that impeachment? If that was the article of impeachment, would there be any appetite in the Senate? So what makes you think that the evidence presented on Monday, this phone call that would get any other president impeached, regardless of timing during the course of his term, 8 days, they got Cody Barrett on the court in 8 days. So let's not make it about the timing. It's not about the timing. It's about the willingness of Republicans to hold this man accountable. And I'm not at all convinced there are any Republicans, or more than a handful, and you need 17, that would be willing to hold this man accountable regardless of the crime. He could be out on Fifth Avenue shooting a guy, and he wouldn't get 17
every one
votes
of them
to
will
impeach.
put their name on the record in history. Absolutely good. Then we
Aren't
know.
they already
Then
on the
we know.
record? Aren't
Then
they
they're
already
going to be
on
on
the
the record
record
again. But the other option, Crudy, the only other option is to do nothing, and that is not a viable option that encourages the next fascist, that encourages the next dictator, that encourages the next Republican who thinks they can get a crowd to go down and what? Threaten? Intimidate? Kill duly elected. I mean, they're what, trying to support the Constitution by subverting the Constitution? This is craziness. And regardless of whether or not the Senate actually has the will to do that is irrelevant to the fact that Donald Trump absolutely deserves it. He is a danger to this country, and he needs to be removed by any means necessary, legally, of course.
Impeachment 2.0. Another failed impeachment, effectively. What sort of signal does that send to the next despot, the next fascistic?
In the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
There's a special place in hell
For Republicans who should know better.
It's very obvious.
The Devil's Advocates.
There are lots of people that haven't made up their mind on this race, and you think, how could that be? No, there are. There are a lot of people that could still make a decision all the way on election day down.
Undecided voters are the biggest idiots on the planet. Try giving short, simple answers.
Like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. Yosemites.
Because freedom.
We did it. All across this nation, voters like you turned out in record numbers to elect Joe Biden. Now, it's time to come together to address the issue that matter most, tackling climate change, expanding access to healthcare, ensuring racial justice, and putting Americans back to work. Text ACT to 668366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. MoveOn.org political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Pull.moveon.org not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hey, I'm Haley Kiyoko, and I know what it's like to struggle with mental health issues. If you have a friend that's going through a tough time, now is the perfect moment to reach out. Learn how to start the conversation at seizetheawkward.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the JED Foundation.
My Congresswoman Rep. Gwen Moore, over 100 Republicans signing on to that Texas lawsuit. What are your thoughts on your fellow Republicans in the House?
You know, honestly, this is what we all sign up for. This is a democracy. You run races. I've been involved in races where people lose, and I'm ashamed of the fact that we had one congressman, I guess he's brand new, who voted for this nonsense.
Listen to Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. Going to them right now at 844-967-2789 to impeach or not to impeach. Andy from Beaver Dam, you are next. Welcome. Happy Monday. Andy, what do you got for us?
Hey, Andy.
Hey, Dom and Crude. First of all, I haven't talked to you since the insurrection, and seeing those images and whatever on TV really made me pissed.
Well, I was going to say, what happened? Trouble's getting back on your return flight from D.C., Andy?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it incensed me. I just thought, how could anybody do that? As far as the impeachment, would there be any benefit I mean, they supposedly what they want to do is they want to stop him from running for office again at some later 2024 or whatever. But would just the fact that the Congress would institute the impeachment even without the approval by the Senate, would that have any benefit?
No. No, not to my understanding. First, you have to have the 2/3 majority in the Senate to convict. And then as a separate majority only vote, certainly there would be enough votes to block Trump from ever holding office again. But to my understanding, Andy, first he must be successfully impeached. And that ain't going to happen, not to my math.
No, I don't think so. I think there's too little time. And even though he deserves it, it's a futile effort, I think. But it's I don't know.
So
you're going to get Dom all worked up, Andy.
I know, but then I got to ask you, of course, the follow-up question, Andy. What do? You just let him get away with it? You let the Republican enablers get away with it?
There is. I have a hope, optimism that somehow he's going to get punished for what he did, on the state level or something. Not for the insurrection or whatever, but whatever. There's a litany of things that
he's got a lot of headwinds, Andy. But those are all for past crimes and indulgences. I mean, he's doing a new one damn near every day, Andy. And if we don't do this, and granted, it may not work. I get that. And I'm inclined to go along with Crudy's math, but we don't know the ins and outs. We don't know the details of whatever investigations. We don't know what texts were sent. We don't know what phone calls were made. We don't know this. We don't know jack. We haven't had a public statement by any law enforcement official in this regard, Andy. How the hell does that happen?
Yeah. I don't know, but can he be punished after the fact if they find out that he tried to hold?
As the former president of the United States, he's just a U.S. citizen, and he's subject to arrest and prosecution under the laws of our nation. I know the fear is he's going to self-pardon, But that in and of itself is against the current legal opinion that's on file with the Department of Justice. So I think he's running out of options here. And as much as I'd like to think there would be a successful impeachment, that ain't going to happen. So that is less dissuasive than Dominic thinks it will be, because being a 2-time unsuccessfully impeached president will give him something to hang his hat on.
Andy, he would be a 2-time successfully impeached president. He just would not be convicted because of the Republicans in the Senate. Thank you for the
Will
call,
that
man.
change any of his supporters' attitudes about him? The fact that the Democrats,
I don't give a damn if
are
it changed
seeking to-
anybody's attitude about him, Crudy.
So it
It's
won't be
about justice,
successful.
about
It won't change
righteousness,
any
man.
attitudes, and
Listen,
it doesn't bring
matter.
you any
It doesn't
vindication.
matter, Crudy. Does a guilty conviction, is that going to change anyone's attitude about it? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
The cult members are the cult members. No,
The
it won't.
day they
it won't.
walk
As
his
soon as
ass
Donald
into
Trump-
prison.
As soon as Donald Trump put Pence under the bus, they were yelling, "Hang Donald Trump."
You're talking about 5,000 to 10,000 Trump supporters. I'm talking about more broadly, millions of people. If Donald Trump's ass is thrown in jail and he's convicted of crimes, yeah, I think his opinion, his support is going down substantially, precipitously, and quickly, I would guess. 844-967-2789. Our buddy Slammer. How you doing, Slammer?
Hey, Bob.
Hey guys, brothers! I want to tell you, this is just like ham sandwich Sunday at Kath and Al's house, where all of the Democrats would get together and we'd argue in varying different measures of agreement over things. It's nice to see it. It elevates the blood pressure and keeps the blood flowing. But this guy has no ability. He's an obsessive compulsive narcissist, and nothing will change when he leaves office. He will wind up hanging himself as a private citizen. The Southern courts of New York are going to come after him with an even greater fervor now that they know he's going to slip away at the federal level. But a lot of these discussions you have,
Are you talking
crimes that he commits?
Are you talking about literally the man will do himself in because he can't live with himself, Bob? Or are you talking about like he's walked his ass down a plank? He's hung himself.
Well, I believe he's going to be on that island with Epstein. There's no way Epstein killed himself in jail. That's my theory. But a narcissist is not going to kill himself. He's not going to do that. He'll undo himself with his actions. He'll find another place that he can go to spew his hate, and he'll wind up getting himself in trouble at a federal level. He can't help himself, and he'll have absolutely no protections from that when it happens.
Slammer, appreciate your contribution. Lots of callers lining up. We'll take them next at 844-967-2789. More Devil's Advocates. We'll be right back. What, we got a minute left? Oh, we should talk more then, Don.
All right, well, then I got one for you. Kuchka tweeted out, and I remember hearing this before, during times of impeachment, the power to pardon is stymied while in impeachment. I know there is specific language in the Constitution with regards to that, but I don't have the specific answers on that. If that were to be the case, that perhaps would be another motivating factor to impeach this man.
Well, I would agree with you and Kuchka, and I thought we had heard that prior, but as I've researched, it is not my belief that Trump loses the pardon power unless convicted. Come back. Charged, never convicted. More Devil's Advocates.
You can't pardon him. He's not in power.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our
Impeachment. An impeachment that will last forever.
Forever, forever, ever.
From the Capitol in Madison, this is Wiz Politics Midday.
I'm Stephanie Hoff, your host, and this podcast is brought to you by Spectrum. U.S. Representative Mike Gallagher, a Republican from Green Bay, said President Trump lied to his supporters, but he's not convinced that impeachment is what is best for the country. Pat Pabletti is on the line with me today for more on Gallagher's statements around the proposed impeachment. So, Pat, he's not happy with the president, but why does he oppose removing him from office?
not only not happy with the president, Stephanie, but not happy with a lot of his own Republican colleagues in the House, who he said persisted in objecting and telling the American people what he called a dangerous lie that Congress was going to overturn the results of the election. Now, as for why he thinks that's not a good idea as to move forward with the 25th Amendment, I'll actually let him speak to that himself, because he was on the Upfront program over the weekend, which is, of course, produced in partnership with WisPolitics.com, and touched on this very subject.
I think all of us in public office have to consider what we can do, if nothing else, not to contribute to the cycle of escalation. And I just worry that using the next 12 days to settle political scores as opposed to reinforcing the peaceful transition of power is not the right thing for the country right now.
So he talked about how he opposed removing Trump through the 25th Amendment. Did he say anything about impeachment? I understand some members of Congress are again pursuing a resolution that would impeach Trump.
Yeah, that's right, Stephanie. They are. And we'll get into the Dem members of Wisconsin's congressional delegation in just 1 second. But Gallagher was actually among a group of 7 House Republicans who signed on to a letter asking President-elect Joe Biden to persuade House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to drop the push to move towards impeaching Trump, kind of along the same lines as what we just heard from him. Now, essentially arguing that a second impeachment was unnecessary and inflammatory. Now, as for the Dem members, I spoke with U.S. Rep. Mark Pocan's office this morning. He is among a growing list that now sits well north of 200 members that are co-sponsoring an impeachment resolution. It's probably also safe to say, based on the statements we've seen out of U.S. Rep. Gwen Moore's office, that she is as well, but I haven't been able to confirm that yet. Similarly with Ron Kind, haven't been able to confirm with his office yet, but he did tell reporters in a video call on Friday that he was pro-25th Amendment, but anti-impeachment, essentially saying that he was worried a little bit about the timeline here, that impeachment should be a serious and sober affair, and moving forward with it so quickly with very little time left before Joe Biden's inauguration really wouldn't be prudent and wouldn't set a good standard for the process moving forward.
Also on the program, Kind spoke about being on the House floor when what he called the riotous mob was growing louder and pressing on the doors of the chamber. Pat, how did he describe that experience?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the interesting thing here is that we heard from Kind a couple times this week. Like I just said, he spoke with reporters on a call on Friday about impeachment. He'd also done another call with reporters essentially as supporters of President Trump were storming the Capitol. He did a call from his office at that point. And then I had spoke with him earlier in the day. So we heard quite a bit from Ron Kind last week. But this appearance on the Upfront program was probably the most he's gone into depth about the actual experience he had on the floor as this all was kind of going on. So we'll play a clip from his appearance there.
Capitol Hill security rushed in.
Quit surfing the dial. You already found the greatest radio station ever, Devil Radio, on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
%60 of the time, they're right every time. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dominic, in an unsigned opinion, the U.S. Supreme Court has failed to take up the expedited ask of Donald J. Trump. Ain't nothing happening between now and Inauguration Day at the U.S. Supreme Court. So any hope of a legal remedy to overturn the outcome of this election, I think, basically, finally, been exhausted. Finally, I think. 844-967-2789. I believe Kurt from Madison has been waiting longest. Kurt, welcome back. What do you got for us?
Hey, Kurt.
Gentlemen, and again, I say that loosely, and remember, ignorance is a choice, and you can't fix stupid. So I personally.
So which one of us is ignorant and who's stupid?
He's not talking about
I'm not
us.
going there. Not going there. Anyway, I think we've moved too far away from what the real questions that should be asked. And we're talking about the President of the United States. We are a nation of laws, correct?
That's what they
Yes or
tell
no?
us, Kurt.
Okay, and most of us believe that if you create a law, the law technically, with all practical purposes, should be enforced, correct?
Are we talking about prohibitionist laws or like anti-sedition laws?
Generally, right. Generally, we would concur, Kurt.
Just spin a wheel. I'm sure everyone that it lands on will be yes. Is it Congress's duty to move forward with impeachment when a president does a gross violation of the law and endangers this country? Yes or no?
I think so. Mark Pocan told us prior he felt obligated to impeach. We're talking about a year ago.
Okay.
Okay, I know you got more rhetorical questions. I'll give you like three more, so wrap it up, fella.
No, I'm going to wrap it up now. So whether this discussion about changing his behavior, changing the Trump idiot's behaviors is moot. Dom is exactly right. This is precedent. This is law. This is following what history is going to note. McConnell has beat us up for probably the entire time he's been in office because the Democrats were always afraid to posture themselves into a political position that would make them look bad instead of just literally doing what their job calls for. So here we are. We've allowed 20, 25, 30 years of chaos to brew up since probably Reagan. And now we're having a debate whether or not this is worthwhile or not. Of course it is. This guy is the president of the United States. He has done seditious acts. We don't know if there's an underlying ISIS movement or Russia stirring these morons onto the Capitol. If we found that out, well, that would spin this thing around. But I don't care if there is or not. The thing is, we know what the facts are. The facts are they assaulted federal land, our capital. They were looking to do harm. They did harm. Who riled them all up? The president. So yes, you damn right you follow through with putting him into action. Let everybody on the Senate floor vote against impeachment. Let those records show down the road, as Dom said, so when the next butthead thinks he's going to pull off a coup, there's something to reflect on.
Okay, first and foremost, Kurt, I'd say more like vanilla ISIS. And above and beyond that, you get it? Vanilla ISIS.
Yeah, I got you.
You didn't even give me a little cackle, man.
Well, I have a response to Kurt, but go ahead, finish your thought.
Okay, above and beyond the bad attempt at humor, the American people's perception of the role of their legislators is to go serve them, right? To legislate, to do something. And my fear is, okay, a quick vote on Wednesday in the House of Representatives. Okay, the American people, they can forgive that. But this latest round of $600 in direct stimulus, insufficient, right? People need money. And if the American people are looking for relief and they're looking to the Congress, and the only thing they're seeing is a Senate impeachment trial of Donald Trump after the man's left office, I think they're going to be very impatient with the process.
There is certainly some risk to that. I believe also they can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. And I want to just reiterate the point, and Kurt, you were there, but you've got to take it just one more step further. It's not that the incitement and the incursion and the sedition and all these things didn't happen. They also, it wasn't just, breaking into a Bureau of Land Management office and trashing a place. They went to the Capitol with the express purpose to not only do harm, which they obviously did, but to stop the election. The guy that lost the election sent his thugs to the Capitol to intimidate to intimidate the legislative branch from doing their duty. That's the biggest problem. If you don't impeach for that, then there is not a reason to even have an impeachment. They wanted to overturn. They still want to overturn this election. Whether or not windows were broken or laptops stolen above and beyond any national security issues, the issue isn't the trespassing. The issue is what were they doing there? They were there to intimidate. They were there to overturn. They were there to mess with our electoral process, and that cannot stand.
844-967-2789. Lori from Northern California. Lori, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, Lori.
Oh, hi. Hi. Yeah, well, on a lighter note, let's see if SNL does a skit on Melania doing a photo shoot of White House furniture, while there's an insurrection going down the street from where she lives. She was concerned, of course, in her statement today about gossip against her.
Yes.
And she notes what led to events was passion and enthusiasm. And she gives her she gave her condolences to the 4 insurrectionists that were killed, and as far as I'm concerned, she really made martyrs out of them, she treated them equally to the police officers that died. Really, the only thing she's fit for is to be the loyal wife of a fascist. But just one other note real quick, just hearing about the Clarence Thomas's wife thing. Boy, Clarence was a real bargain, isn't he, for people of color? Wishful thinking on my part, but, maybe down the road, hopefully, this will fry his butt somehow. Clarence, get him off of that Supreme Court. So thanks for taking my call.
Lori, thank you for making that call.
Great
Clarence
points.
Thomas
Thank you,
has failed on his federal disclosures to acknowledge the income his wife generates as a vessel of the Tea Party movement, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and never told anyone until very recently, just overlooked those hundreds of thousands of dollars that end up in their bank account each and every year. Well, that is an impeachable offense for a federal judiciary. I understand why Kuchka, and I did look it up, and, once again, here's what it says. The constitutional provision, the pardon power of the president is based on Article 2 of the United States Constitution, Section 2, Clause 1, which provides the president shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. So I wonder if related crimes to the impeachment, meaning that I wonder if Trump was impeached, if he would be limited from pardoning all the
and wouldn't that
domestic
be
terrorists.
Right.
That might be a justification, but I'm very unclear on that. Until he's successfully impeached, I'm not clear that he loses his pardon power unless convicted.
Well, if it's during the impeachment process, the rule is suspended, or versus the pardon is suspended after conviction. Yeah, that's the processing. I'm not clear on that either. Obviously, if they did the impeachment and it's while the impeachment is happening, he loses that he'd be out of office and he won't be able to pardon anyone once Joe Biden becomes the president. So if nothing else, that would stop, close that window, close that gap. But again, I'm not clear. I have a perfect sense of the law.
Where's James Santel when you need him?
Maybe later this week.
I wonder if he's listening. 844-967-2789. Catherine from Madison, you're listening. We appreciate it. What do you got for us?
Hi, Catherine.
Oh, hi, guys. Is there anything going on in the news lately?
Very little to keep us interested, but we do our best.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we can talk about the weather. I don't know. At any rate, I was calling because of just two things. I don't often say this, but I really trust Nancy Pelosi to move forward in the right way. I think she knows all the back channels and how this all works. And I know that if they do impeach him, they don't actually have to have the trial in the Senate until she brings the papers over there. So I think maybe that might be part of her factoring. But what I would really like to see is I'd love to see a vote in the House and how the GOP representatives will vote on impeaching this guy. Because, if you don't impeach a president for inciting sedition, what the heck is impeachment there for?
I would perhaps be okay with a delayed process. James Clyburn, I think congressman from South Carolina, suggested wait until the first 100 days of the Joe Biden presidency, let him get a head start on, rolling out the vaccines, et cetera, and then devote time to an impeachment trial. But then and only then, if they're going to have witnesses and testimony, and the difference is we would control the gavel. We would control the majority in the Senate. We would control whether or not there was witnesses and testimony at the impeachment trial in the Senate this time around. That would certainly be a differing trial. I don't know that it would be persuasive of 17 Republican senators, but at least we could get it on the historical record. I just don't know if we want to rush through this process. You know, Nancy and her team vote Wednesday. You hand it off to Mitch McConnell. What, we're going to start on January 21st. We're going to have an impeachment trial. I don't think Joe Biden wants that. And he'll let Nancy know that that's not exactly what I want. I got to move my agenda because it literally is a cheese in the colon of the governance. If there is a trial, you stop everything and the trial happens now.
I can't imagine a more important reason to have a trial, Catherine, than for the incitement of insurrection by a sitting president who just lost an election.
Exactly. And we really need to have all of the information come out. I could go along with if they do it later, because by then we might even know more. And we need to be, I mean, how many times did they bring up Benghazi? And that was long after she was gone, you know. So we need to look and see, why did this happen, and what were the, you know, what were people doing to incite it? And we don't really know all the data yet. And I think they need to really look at this.
Yeah, and I totally concur with you in that regard, Catherine. I'm just not clear, because that's more the law, the legal stuff. I mean, is it, as it pertains to the one article of impeachment for Donald Trump this time around, it's the incitement, it's the insurrection, and everything is known about that. His speech is there, his fundraising letters for the Trump army, those are all there. Everything that his cohorts and his attorneys and his children have said, that's all part of the record already. We don't need anything else. We're certainly going to find out what else was involved, who else was involved, what kind of communications were or were not happening behind the scenes as this thing played out in the weeks and months that getting up to that. But that can take longer. And at the end of the day, so long as we limit this guy's power, so long as we put somehow a mark again on this man, on the GOP, and make a stand for history for this action, as soon as he's out, I don't give a damn. But we need to do whatever we can to limit his power today, tomorrow morning, tomorrow night, every second until he is out of office. He's out, and we need to get the rest of the chumps out as well.
Dominic, real quick, want to clarify one story on the Capitol insurrection. As Catherine pointed out, you know, how many hearings on Benghazi did they have?
Right.
And I would point out more people died at the U.S. Capitol last Wednesday than died at Benghazi, than died at the U.S. consulate under attack. But one story, which I got to say sadly is not true, the man did not tase himself to death by tasing his testicles. And that story, very tantalizing, seemed like something that was plausible and could be true and should be true.
The story of one of the Trumpsters who perished during the insurrection was that he reached up to steal a painting of Tip O'Neill
and jammed his taser down his
taser
pants,
between his legs or down his pants, and somehow tased his testicles and succumbed to a heart attack after that. Apparently not true. Says
sadly,
who?
Snopes says not true.
I saw it on Parler. It must be true.
Plain old heart attack. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates.
When I say make America great again, it could never be done without you. Great people.
People against goodness and...
All right, well, what does your church tell you about when people say that they're the second coming of God? My reason tells me the man is certifiable. I want your opinion, Gary.
I would say anybody who comes back and says that, I would say you'd be the Antichrist.
I am the chosen one.
So Trump is the Antichrist, then, Gary, by that logic?
I'm not saying he is, but
But he said he's the chosen one.
I am the chosen one.
Gary, by your biblical logic, Donald Trump is the Antichrist.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Biden won because of you, because you stayed in line to vote even when you got tired, because you knew that your vote is power, because you understood what was at stake, and because you showed up, we now have the power. Text ACT to 668-366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. MoveOn.org. Political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
The Devil's Advocates.
James Santel, he's a former U.S. attorney. He's our guest live on Brady.
Once again, a pleasure to be with you, gentlemen, to talk about the latest news breaking as we speak.
The FBI raided Michael Cohen, Trump's personal attorney, but once they got there, then they went back and got a more thorough warrant and said, we'll take everything.
My first reaction is you need to teach criminal constitutional law. You've got it just right in terms of the process.
They are kind of a big deal.
This is a really big deal.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Going back to the phones in just a moment at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, your congresswoman, our friend, Rep. Gwen Moore, tweeted out about an hour ago. The same groups who stormed the Capitol are planning to come back. We saw why Trump is already capable when he incited an angry mob to storm the Capitol to overturn the election. That's why that's why he must be removed ASAP to protect the country from facing more violence and chaos. Gwen Moore, impeachment now.
Thank you, Gwen. I concur.
967-2789. She's in the House. What's she supposed to say? That's what their planned action. She's not going to disrespect Speaker Pelosi. Annie from Watertown, welcome back. What do you got, Annie? Don't disrespect Speaker Crudy.
I would think, in the future, they'll look back and what did they do next, Mommy? And you say, we can't consider those insurrectionists if that's giving them power. But you can tell your kid we threw the book at them in every single way possible, that including investigating under impeachment power. That's something, and look at all those votes that the Republicans took over the ACA and all the investigations over Benghazi. There's no way Democrats could look stupid. They were the height of stupidity.
Well, I don't disagree with you,
It's
Annie.
tough to argue against, Annie.
It was only 60 votes, Annie. Act like they're wasting time or something. 844-967-2789. Devil's Advocates will never waste your time. Yes, sir.
No, never. Curdy, your concern is that somehow, this process would stymie, the governance and perhaps shortly. But how long do you think it would take? You know what I mean?
How long you got, Dom? When you got 4,000 Americans dying every day and you got $600 maybe coming to your checking account.
Oh, okay.
How long you got to hang on? Unfortunately, it's been 8-9 months. And now we've got a little bit of relief being offered.
But what makes you think that those other things cannot be addressed also?
My understanding, they literally cannot be addressed until the Senate impeachment trial is done. That becomes priority number 1A, 1B, 1C. The trial is everything until it's done.
So no staffers are meeting and everything. Everything stops. I don't buy
they
that,
might
man.
meet, but nothing's going on the floor of the Senate while a impeachment's going on. Dom, you're not moving legislation during the course of an impeachment.
Dude, are you no doubt? And we've been actually kind of used to that with Mitch McConnell being at the head of the Senate. They haven't really done a whole lot anyway. Again,
but that could all change on January 21st.
Whether or not this can actually, the historical consequence of this outweighs the week or however long it would take to do justice, to do right, to put Republicans on the record.
I have no doubt that there is reason to be concerned about Donald Trump and the next however many days it is. What is it? 10 days, 9 days. Yes, there's reason to be concerned. This impeachment doesn't do anything to alleviate those concerns. Once again, it might jam up the governance after the Biden's presidency is
it might also limit his pardon power. We don't know that yet. We'll have to ask Jim.
Well,
if that would be the case, would you be fine with it then? And what if they just impeach it and then hold on to the papers? If that's the case, let's say you go through the impeachment process, you limit his ability to pardon, the insurrectionists, and then he's out.
That's not my understanding of how it works. And we've been through an impeachment once, and I cannot specifically tell you what conversation James Santel corrected the record, but I think that the pardon is still within his disposal until he's convicted. If ever. In the meantime, I mean, if he was anyone other than president, what would we do? What about all these other hooligans, the actual direct insurrectionists? We're waiting for criminal prosecution.
Charge them. Yeah.
Well, okay. If you want to charge him with the crime, if the attorney, the U.S. attorney from D.C. wants to take a crack at charging a sitting president, go nuts, or wait 9 more days and charge him then. I suspect people will be lining up to serve this guy. But I don't know that the simple act of impeachment with very, very little chance of success actually teaches us anything historically or sets a precedent.
Well, you know what doesn't teach anybody anything is doing nothing. I guarantee you that teaches nobody anything.
I'm not suggesting that law enforcement stop investigating the president. I'm not suggesting there shouldn't be charges and convictions if merited. And certainly they are. But I'm saying the impeachment process is just to throw it at the wall.
Throw it at the wall? I mean, if the impeachment process was not created for a losing president inciting insurrection to overturn that election, what the hell is it for?
Dominic, we saw the impeachment for the perfect phone call a year ago. The guy was a quid pro quoing over missiles and give us fake information about Joe Biden. And we learned more about that today. What, Deripaska, whatever, the Ukrainians, didn't Pompeo direct and say, yeah, it was them? The very same guy that Ron Johnson was accepting information and propagating information.
Andre,
from.
yeah.
844. Didn't matter. All the evidence, well, that wasn't even heard. We didn't hear witnesses. That's not going to happen between now and Inauguration Day. Mitch McConnell will make sure of that. So you can't have a 1-day or a 2-day impeachment. Quick and dirty is not feasible. So you might as well wait 100 days or wait until the charges start dropping. And they'll drop. 844-967-2789. Let's take some calls before they start dropping. AJ from Humboldt County, California. AJ, welcome back. What do you got for us?
Hey, AJ.
Hey, a plan B or whatever, C maybe. And that is the Bob Barr routine. When Trump was pressing him to investigate, reopen and all that, and Barr said, well, yeah, I got to do this. But if you can find any, he put a tag on there to let people know he wasn't really that happy about it. And then when he resisted more, Trump threw him under the bus kind of, and then Barr resigned. So now he's doing the same thing with Pence. Pence is not doing his bidding. He's not happy, so he turned him out to the crowd. And then they're going to hang him in the backyard and the gallows and all that. So why should Pence hang out? What if Pence resigns now and just says, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be your patsy. I'm not going to be your fall guy.
VP Pelosi?
I'm out.
Do you think VP, appreciate the call, AJ. Do you think VP Pelosi would have a pardon to offer Donald Trump if he stepped down?
I don't think so.
You know, if this man truly has the art of the deal, Donald Trump will negotiate an exit pardon. I mean, really, that's the only leverage he has left. He would resign for a pardon, and that was the best deal he could possibly establish on his way out the door. Anything less than that, he's got real problems. Can't self-pardon. Pence ain't going to pardon him. Nancy Pelosi ain't going to pardon him. His goose is cooked unless he negotiates an exit pardon.
He's too irresponsible to have a Twitter account, but he's also got the nuclear codes. That's problematic.
Come back with us. The Wisconsin Happy Hour. If you're listening in Minneapolis, Mac McNeil is next. The rest of you better stick around. We'll get to the phones.
Wouldn't it be nice if we actually got along with people?
They like a person like me that's not mean.
Tyler Smith here with Focal Point Training, home of Madison's most comfortable workout. where we help create self-reliant clients with our Good Enough workout. It's as simple as showing up, making it up, and quitting while you're ahead. This January, we will be offering 3 free sessions to come experience what is good enough. You can learn more at focalpointtraining.net.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever. You're listening to W224EG and WTTN 1580 AM, always streaming at devilradio927.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Citing an evolving security landscape, the Department of Homeland Security is setting increased inauguration security measures in motion earlier than planned. The FBI is warning of plans for armed protests in all 50 state capitals and in Washington, D.C., in the days leading up to President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. Biden was asked about January 20th.
I'm not afraid of taking you outside.
This all follows the deadly violence at the Capitol Wednesday. The House is getting set to vote on the impeachment of President Trump. This is Rhode Island Democrat David Cicilline.
This was an attempted coup to overthrow the government, and we have a responsibility as Congress to respond to that. We took an oath of office to defend and protect the Constitution and our democracy in the face of a direct attack on our democracy.
The AP Sagar Magani reports Vice President Mike Pence could have a role in this.
The measure is expected to pass when the full House votes tomorrow. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says Pence will then have 24 hours to respond before the House moves to an impeachment vote Wednesday. Pence has not indicated he's ready to help remove the president.
President Trump faces a single charge: incitement of insurrection. Distribution of coronavirus vaccine is being stepped up at venues like sports stadiums and convention centers around the country. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says it's all a work in progress.
What we were able to quickly learn over the course of the first 10 days is we needed to find a way to accelerate the process.
The Trump administration redesignated Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism, hitting the country with new sanctions that could hamstring President-elect Biden's promise to renew sanctions with Cuba. The head of the Minneapolis Police Union, frequently attacked by opponents after George Floyd's death, as an obstacle to needed change in the department, says today he is retiring. The Dow down 89 points. This is AP News.
Is your bathroom looking old and worn out? Want to update it, but you don't know where to start? Then let BCI Bath & Shower show you how to turn that old bath into an aisle of beauty and functionality. Our residential bathroom solutions provide the best value on the market, and our customer service is second to none. Our cost-effective BCI Bath & Shower family of products has what you need.
Remodeling our bathroom was a big decision for us.
They didn't make a mess out of our house at all. And at the end of the day, we had a beautiful new bathroom. And it was a great experience the whole way through.
We have the best monthly payment programs in the industry, with payments as low as $68 per month or no interest, no payments for 18 months. That's right. Get the bathroom of your dreams now and pay for it in 2021. Call 1-800-303-2352 for a free no-obligation price quote. That's 1-800-303-2352. When you want quality bathroom products at a great price, it's got to be BCI Bath & Shower. That's 1-800-303-2352.
Pat Slattery here of Slattery's Automotive Service. Winter's coming, and that means now's the time for you to start thinking about snow tires. Travel winter roads with ease on Hakkapeliitta snow tires. Hakkapeliitta is the top-of-the-line snow tire, made in Finland and eco-friendly. If it's snowing, they'll get you there. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to get yours set. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
America has chosen Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to lead our country. Now it's time to get to work. Time to expand healthcare and tackle the coronavirus pandemic. Time to restore our democracy and unify our nation. It's time to put this administration to work for us. Text ACT to 668-366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. MoveOn.org. Political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Jimmy, crazy local music supporters have surrounded the studio. Take a look.
What did the sign say?
Support local music, double dipping is a right, and I love the Jimmies.
What do they want?
Live local music, Jimmy. Catch Maxing Radio every Saturday evening for the best of local music from Wisconsin. Live music performed in the Devil's Lair. Go to MaxIncRadio.com for the live music schedule. It's Max Inc. Radio, Saturdays at 6 on Devil Radio 92.7.
Give them what they want, rocker.
An industry that started in America should stay in America. At Ignite Glass and Gifts, we strive to offer tons of American-made products, most of which we create by hand in our glass blowing shop. You'll know your product will have thicker, longer-lasting glass, and it's artistically made right here at home. Madison's favorite for glass gifts and vape. Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road. Keep it American-made at Ignite.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Monday, January 11th. The Wisconsin Supreme Court says the legislature can weigh in on legal disputes over natural resources that could shape the power of state agencies to protect public waters from pollution and overuse. In an order issued last week, the High Court granted a request from the Joint Committee on Legislative Organization to intervene on a pair of legal cases that will determine the balance of power between elected politicians who make the laws and technical experts who implement them. Conservative attorney Cleta Mitchell is out at Milwaukee-based Foley & Lautner law firm just days after it came out that she joined President Donald Trump on a phone call aimed at overturning the results of the Georgia presidential election. Areas of freezing fog early this morning with cloudy skies throughout the day. High today of 30 degrees, low of 25 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the Impeachment Monday happy hour, or maybe it was the 25th Amendment Monday, or maybe it's the do absolutely nothing and wait until January 21st Monday happy hour, you know, depending on your point of view. And lots of people want a piece of this big show at 844-967-2789. But Dom, got a little bit of an update. And let's not forget, they're boarding up the Wisconsin state capitol and probably doing something similar at many state capitals because the FBI is warned we could have armed insurrectionists coming right here to the Capitol in Madison. That's something to look forward to, Dom. Going to be a big weekend at the state capitol.
Get your guns.
Well, now the college football is essentially over. Dominic, from the body of an article at the Journal Sentinel, so far, at least 90 people have been arrested on charges ranging from misdemeanor curfew violations to felonies related to assaults on police officers, possessing illegal weapons, and making death threats against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Among them were Lonnie Leroy Kaufman, 70, an Alabama grandfather who drove to D.C. to attend Trump's Save America rally in a red GMC Sierra pickup packed with an M4 assault rifle, multiple loaded magazines, 3 handguns, and 11 mason jars filled with homemade napalm. I love the smell of napalm at a Save America rally. Save America rally. According to court filings, he was arrested carrying a 9mm Smith & Wesson handgun and a .22 caliber Derringer in his pockets. His grandson, Brandon Kaufman, told the AP Friday his grandfather was a Republican who would express admiration for Trump at holiday gatherings.
Oh, so not Antifa. Okay.
He said he had no idea why Kaufman would show up at the nation's capital armed for a civil war. Also facing federal charges is Cleveland Grover Meredith Jr., a Georgia man who, in the wake of the election, had protested outside the home of Republican Governor Brian Kemp, who Trump had publicly blamed for his loss in the state. Meredith drove to Washington last week for the Save America rally, but arrived late because of a problem with the lights on his trailer, according to court filings that included expletive-laden text. Heading to D.C. with a crap load of 5.56 armor-piercing ammo, he texted friends and relatives on January 6th, adding a purple devil emoji. Let's leave the devils out of this. The following day, he texted the group thinking about heading over to Pelosi C-word speech and putting a bullet in her noggin on live TV. He once again added a purple devil emoji and wrote he might hit her with his truck instead. I'm going to run that C-word Pelosi over while she chews on her gums. Dead bitch walking. I predict that within 12 days, many in our country will die. A participant in the text exchange provided screenshots to the FBI who tracked Meredith to a Holiday Inn, a short walk from the Capitol. They found a compact Traver X95 assault rifle, a 9mm Glock 19 handgun, and about 100 rounds of ammunition, according to court filings. The agents also seized a stash of THC edibles and a vial of injectable testosterone. Now, this guy knows how to party.
Wow.
Edibles and injectable testosterone. Meredith, charged with transmitting a threat, as well as felony counts of possession of firearms and ammunition. Here's a few more, Dom. Michael Thomas Carrizo was arrested in relation to the riots less than 2 years after he was released from Florida prison in 2019. He had served 8 years for attempted murder. Federal law enforcement officers vowed Friday to bring additional charges against those who carried out the attack at the Capitol, launching a nationwide manhunt for dozens of suspects identified from photographic evidence. So I would wonder, Dom, those that would show up at state capitals, presumably in smaller numbers than the 5,000 to 10,000 that showed up at the Save America rally, despite any claims by righty-whitey talk radio or conservative media of hundreds of thousands, that just never happened. So bring them to state capitals, divide that crowd by, let's say, 50, and do you think a couple of hundred of armed insurrectionists are going to, attack the Wisconsin state capitol this weekend, or wait for Joe's inauguration day?
FBI seems concerned about it, so I'm concerned about it.
Why not just go round them all up when they show up? Hey, come right this way. We got something for you. Yeah, put those handcuffs on and get on the bus, the paddy wagon, we call it.
Well, because people have the right to protest, people have the right to bear arms, right? Until they start the insurrection. How do you charge someone for something they haven't done yet?
Minority Report. 844-967-2789. It's close, but I think Brian from Madison is next. Brian, you're next. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Hi, Brian.
Gentlemen's hi, fellas. How's it going? Yeah, somebody's calling in. Sure enough. Anyway, here's the deal. We've been talking about all this at great length. Because I go around the state of Wisconsin, being a delivery driver, there are certain things I notice. But here's the latest thing I've noticed. And check this out as you drive around this beautiful state. Some businesses have their flags at half-mast. Others do not. Is that some reflection on they believe the election was stolen by any chance? Over.
Well, some are lowering their flags to half-mast in honor of the fallen Capitol Police officer. Now, Donald Trump, my understanding, at least as of this morning, had not lowered the flags at the White House. So Trump ain't lowering the flags. That's the work of Nancy Pelosi and her ilk.
Yeah, but it was just one of those things. Sometimes I wanted to go in and ask them why they had done that. And your answer gets me calm again. Because as I had that idea in my head, I kept seeing it. It's just like another Trump flag out in farm country that just makes me want to stop, get out of my vehicle, and rip the sucker right off the wherever it's moored and just shred it and leave it there.
Well, maybe you could.
Over.
Yeah, over. Appreciate the call, Brian. Over. Perhaps you could tear it into small pieces of cloth, and then you could affix it around their faces, their pie holes.
They will never wear masks
because they
You can't
also
make 'em.
refuse to wear masks, Brian. 844-967-2789.
Curdy here. Pardon me. Real quick, Don,
Hold on,
be patient. Fox News is reporting that acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf stepping down due to recent events.
844-967-2789. Hi, Don from Door County. Welcome. What do you got for us?
Hello, Don.
Hey, aside from being totally disappointed in Mike Gallagher's ass-covering apologies about how there shouldn't be impeachment, and
Come on, we need unity, Don. Unity.
Well, I was wondering because I had to tune in late. I'm looking at 70 years old here, but I noticed yesterday John Nichols, Amendment 14, Section 3, no person shall hold any office who shall have engaged in insurrection, blah, blah, blah. And it's from his article at The Nation yesterday. This is a third option for Congress. Amendment 25, impeachment, or they could write him out on his ass right now without any real delay, Section 3 of Amendment 14. And I emailed you guys on your email a link to the tweet from John Nichols.
And could we get rid of Josh Hawley and what's his nuts in one fell swoop? Get rid of Ted Cruz while we're at it? I like that idea, Don. I'm going to have to read that article. 844-967-2789. One more this segment. Dick from Madison. Welcome, Dick. What do you got for us?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of this could have been addressed last year this time, but yeah, the likes of Susan Collins, who, he learned his lesson, and then several other people in the Senate that IQ is on the negative side of 60.
Dick, you say that with such sarcasm. It's almost like you don't believe Trump learned his lesson.
No, I don't. But to the insurrection itself, I suggested this, and Matt thought it was a little overboard this morning, but I still don't. These people, as they're awaiting trial, in my opinion, I don't even want them on the 50-state soil. Hold them in a separate area at Guantanamo Bay. And then, if you're convicted, I got a good place for you. Alcatraz Island. And you guys you've got such ingenuity, you can do the upgrades and the fix-up to make it, livable. And then we'll just circle the island and make sure you stay there for the rest of your days.
Do you think you can get Melania's designer to come in and sort of spruce up the joint? Maybe some red trees, blood red.
Yeah, and maybe that one guy that had all that garb on, he could be in the Birdman's cell. That might be fitting for him, the guy with the eagle's nest on his head and all the rest of the garb. And I don't know. All of these people make me just sick to my stomach to even see them.
But Dick, they look in the mirror and they're calling themselves patriots. I think that this is a righteous thing that they did. Right. They are saving this country. That's what Right Wing Talk Radio tells them. That's what President Donald Trump is telling them. That's what their God is telling them, that this is righteous, Dick. How do you overcome that?
I really don't know, but like I said, part of how I would overcome it is just what I said. I know I'm kind of reactionary with that idea, but I don't even want them on U.S. soil. Out of here. I hate to sound so 60s and love it or leave it, but that's the type of people they are, so give them what they want.
Dick, appreciate the call. I wish we could prevent the impaneling of Josh Hawley and what's his nuts and 126 Republicans that refused to acknowledge the outcome of the election. And Dominic, I see, they're now being punished by corporate interest. They're not getting those sweet, sweet corporate dollars anymore. That could really change some attitudes. I'm telling you. Come back with us. Taking a short commercial break, some sweet, sweet corporate dollars, then more devil's advocates.
I think this situation absolutely requires a really futile
and stupid gesture be done on somebody's part. Who's with me? Let's go! Come on!
G.I. Joe!
Eric Holder, he's the former U.S. Attorney General and current chair of the National Democratic Redistricting Committee.
The notion that Scott Walker is saying that we are doing something to push partisan gerrymandering, that is the pot calling the kettle total black. I mean, that's absurd. He is one of the architects of among the most gerrymandered states in the union. All we're pushing for is a fair process come 2021.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
We did it. All across this nation, voters like you turned out in record numbers to elect Joe Biden. Now, it's time to come together to address the issue that matter most, tackling climate change, expanding access to healthcare, ensuring racial justice, and putting Americans back to work. Text ACT to 668366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. MoveOn.org political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Hold.moveon.org not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. That's right. They can help save lives by simply washing their hands. Just 20 seconds of thorough hand washing after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside can help fight against the dastardly spread of germs. Armed with only soap and water and hands, your superhero can protect you, your family, and everyone out there in America land. Amazing! Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Our friend Scott Russ.
Johnson's going to have this hearing next week. The way in which he has misused and abused his office in order to try and further these crackpot theories he has. He had 2 anti-vaxxer hearings. I don't understand what the point of that is. It's one thing to be like, all right, if you're a Republican, you're like, I'll just try and forget that Trump said we might be able to inject ourselves with bleach to solve this COVID problem. But why would you so revel in your own crapulence that you would actually have several hearings in the United States Senate?
Listen to Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
Check me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but if I kill all the golfers, they're going to lock me up and throw away the key.
I'm alright. Nobody but about me.
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can be a fine part of this program at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, why we play the Caddyshack music? Well, it's in honor of Donald Trump, of course. More bad news on the Trump front. The Raw story, my source. President Donald Trump is angry about the backlash over Wednesday's insurrection at the U.S. Capitol by his supporters backing his effort to steal the 2020 election by lying about election fraud. On Wednesday, Trump is expected to be the first U.S. president impeached twice. 1, 2,
It's no big deal.
But Trump is reportedly angrier about the PGA of America cutting ties and moving the 2022 PGA Championship from the Trump National Golf Club at Bedminster.
Because I'm going to be working for you. I'm not going to have time to go play golf. Believe me.
Here's a quote from Maggie Haberman of the New York Times. A lot has happened in the last week, including the president losing his Twitter feed, impeachment coming to the fore, and the PGA withdrawing from Trump National. He's gutted by the PGA move. Again, according to Maggie Haberman, he's angry about the impeachment. People have spoken to him say, but the reaction to the PGA decision was different order of magnitude.
Ooh.
He's really, really hot. Dominic, Donald Trump's losing a golf tournament.
But this whole place sucks.
That's going to sting a little. You know, he makes money off the golf tournaments and he gets a lot of good publicity, right? You know, now that you're off Twitter and Parler and everything else, you know, golf tournaments coming to your golf club's about the only sort of publicity the man was going to get.
Oh, come on. He's got 9. He's got 9 days. He can call a press conference right now and renounce the violence and tell everyone he's going to resign. He's really sorry for being an ass, and he hope Mike Pence does a great job in the next couple of days.
That's got to be a negotiated deal, Dom. You don't just resign. You got to resign to get yourself pardoned. I mean, I'd be working in haste. I'd be working with alacrity to seek a pardon, trade off with the resignation. If I was Donald Trump, that's the only good deal left on the table. And if you were Nancy Pelosi, if you were Joe Biden, if you were Chuck Schumer, would you allow a pardon to be extended for the crimes committed while in office, and presumably lots of crimes committed up until that point, if Trump would just leave, let's say today? 9 days, would it be worth it? Get out of jail free card for federal
charges
crimes
that he will face that would not be wiped away clean, knowing what he's facing. Maybe.
Come on, man. It's a binary choice. It's a yes or no. Are you taking that deal? Are you offering that deal? But more importantly, if you were Chuck or Nancy or Joe Biden, would you take that deal to get rid of the man? Take your chances on the state courts, Tom.
Given the danger, the clear and present danger, grave danger, any other kind of danger, given the grave danger, yeah, absolutely. Because he's going to go down in the state courts anyway. He's done. The family's done. This Trump organization, they're done. They're full of fraud. They've been lying about their values of their properties and banks and insurance and all that, let alone all the other overseas Deutsche Bank issues and the tax fraud. I mean, come on. There's plenty of state charges to go after him. But what I'm concerned about is listen, if all of a sudden now we're going to have 50 armed, every capital in this country is going to have an armed protest, the influence, who is influencing this president? Is it still the overseas? Is Putin still an influencer for Donald Trump in the waning days of his election? This chaos being sowed, is it being influenced by outside actors? I would suggest that perhaps they are. Still, this president has been compromised from day one. And if he was nothing more than President Chaos, because that's the kind of guy, our enemies would want in office, so be it. But the known history of this man with Putin and his reactions to him and the Helsinki hand job and all the other things that we've discussed over the course of this man's term would show to me that he is still influenced by outside actors. And when you're talking about armed insurrection and you're talking about armed protests coming up during the next president's inauguration, oh man, I mean, this is everything an enemy of this country could possibly hope for and more.
Man's a menace.
The Helsinki hand job, I hope that gains popular use. I think we popularized that statement. We should be famouser for coming up with that.
More famouser. 844-967-2789. Curdy, I know we're going to go to break here in just a minute, but I think we're going to have to get to this other Washington Post piece. Paul Fari, talk radio owner, orders conservative hosts to temper election fraud rhetoric. And the first thing I think to myself is, conservative host talk radio's being tempered? What about their First Amendment rights?
Yeah, when the boss stops down to the studio and says the election's over, you will not imply or state otherwise any longer. Have they been infringed upon, Tom?
I almost want to tune into some of these lefties. We'll get into that and more as well. More of your calls.
We're the only lefties, man.
Not the lefties. We're the lefties. We're the good guys. The righties. Left, right.
Now you're going to leave the audience very confused.
2789.
When you hold up the left hand, the thumb spells L for loser. Come back with us.
Mirrored. I'm not sure.
More devil's advocates, more life hacks on the other side. 844-967-2789.
I've often thought of becoming a golf club. The most important decision you can make right now is where do you stand? Goodness
madness. Ooh, you know, I'm going to hit the pause button right there.
It takes for nutches.
How about a Fresca?
A progressive voice in rural Wisconsin, WTTN 1580 AM is South Central Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio. Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
Get ready to get local. Saturdays at 11 a.m., Dane by Local and 92.7 FM Devil Radio bring you Let's Get Local, a new program featuring area businesses and nonprofits that make our community unique and special. So tune in Saturdays and go local.
Security increase for the inauguration. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf is stepping up security for President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration starting this coming Wednesday rather than next Tuesday as first planned. Wolf says the speeded up timeline comes because of last week's riot at the U.S. Capitol and what he calls an evolving security landscape. The FBI warns governors and authorities in the states of possible armed protests ahead of Biden's inauguration next Wednesday. House Democrats are pushing forward in the effort to impeach President Trump on a single charge of incitement to insurrection. AP Washington Bureau Chief Julie Pace reports part of the effort is to prevent Trump from running for office again.
He has flirted with the idea of running in 2024. That is also a long time away, and we don't know what would really happen, but this would block that avenue. And that's something that could be both linked to impeachment, but it also could be done separately. And that's one of the things that lawmakers are trying to sort through right now.
I'm Tim McGuire.
Is your bathroom looking old and worn out? Want to update it, but you don't know where to start? Then let BCI Bath & Shower show you how to turn that old bath into an aisle of beauty and functionality. Our residential bathroom solutions provide the best value on the market, and our customer service is second to none. Our cost-effective BCI Bath & Shower family of products has what you need.
Remodeling our bathroom was a big decision for us.
They didn't make a mess out of our house at all. And at the end of the day, we had a beautiful new bathroom. And it was a great experience the whole way through.
We have the best monthly payment programs in the industry, with payments as low as $68 per month or no interest, no payments for 18 months. That's right. Get the bathroom of your dreams now and pay for it in 2021. Call 1-800-303-2352 for a free no-obligation price quote. That's 1-800-303-2352. When you want quality bathroom products at a great price, it's got to be BCI Bath & Shower. That's 1-800-303-2352.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Monday, January 11th. Governor Tony Evers and 7 other Democratic governors are asking federal health officials to release more doses of COVID-19 vaccine to their states, alleging the Trump administration is holding back the shots. Soon after the letter was published, President-elect Joe Biden announced a plan to stop holding back doses, as the Trump administration has done. Wisconsin's Joint Budget Committee agreed to release funding to Dane and Milwaukee counties last week for their work in conducting the presidential recount, a move that comes after Republicans on the committee initially held up the reimbursement. Even after the release, co-chairs of the Joint Finance Committee, Representative Mark Bourne and Senator Howard Markline, said in a joint statement they still have concerns about the county's receipts. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. A happy Monday to us all. Dominic, the happy hour, it continues. Your phone call still welcome here at 844-967-2789. Dom, I wanted to talk about the protest at Senator Ron Johnson's Madison office this weekend, but I know you're talking about Righty Whitey Talk Radio.
How can we
and the
not,
threats
man?
coming down from management Feels good to work for a little independent outfit right about now, doesn't it?
It
Kind of
sure
gives us some
does.
freedom.
Well, we have some freedom when we are not inciting insurrection. Again, the Washington Post, talk radio owner orders conservative hosts to temper election fraud rhetoric. Paul Fari reports after months of stoking anger about alleged election fraud, one of America's largest talk radio companies has decided on an abrupt change of direction. Cumulus Media, which employs some of the most popular right-leaning talk radio hosts in the United States, has told its on-air personalities to stop suggesting that the election was stolen from President Trump or else face termination.
You know, the iHeart host, especially those in Madison and Milwaukee, no such memo.
No, not
it
from
has
Heartless
become
Radio, huh?
Sedition Radio.
A Cumulus executive issued the directive on Wednesday, just as Congress met to certify Joe Biden's election victory, and an angry mob of Trump supporters marched on the Capitol, overwhelmed police, and briefly occupied the building, terrorizing lawmakers and leading to the deaths of 5 people. Brian Phillips, the executive vice president for content for Cumulus, wrote in an internal memo, first reported by Inside Music Media, quote, "We need to help induce national calm now." Cumulus and its program syndication arm Westward One, he also said this, will not tolerate any suggestion that the election has not ended. The election has been resolved and there are no alternate acceptable quote unquote paths. The memo adds, if you transgress this policy, you can expect to separate from the company immediately. The Cumulus representative did not respond to repeated requests for comment on Sunday. The new policy is a stunning corporate clampdown on the kind of provocative and even inflammatory talk that has long driven the business model for Cumulus and other talk show broadcasters. And it came as Google, Apple, and Amazon cut off essential business services to Parler, the pro-Trump social media network where users have promoted falsehoods about election fraud and praised the mob that assaulted the Capitol. And I will add other things, encouraging the murder of politicians, for example. Apple and Google removed the Parler app from the offerings for its smartphones, while Amazon suspended it from its web hosting services. Since the election, Cumulus has remained silent, while some of the most popular hosts, who include Mark Levin, Dan Bongino, have amplified Trump's lies that the vote was rigged or in some way fraudulent. In his program Tuesday, the day before the March on the Capitol, for example, Levin fulminated about Congress's certification of electoral votes for Biden, describing the normally routine process as tyranny. Quote, "You think the framers of the Constitution sat there and said Congress has no choice, even if there's fraud, even if there's a court order, even if some legislature has violated the Constitution?" Levin said, his voice rising to a shout. The Atlanta-based Cumulus owns 416 stations in 84 regions across the country. Many of its stations broadcast a talk format, a medium that has been dominated by a conservative point of view for decades. That's coming to an end, Crudy. In addition to the national personalities, it employs local talk radio hosts in many of its markets. Cumulus's biggest stations include WMAL in Washington, KABC in LA, WLS in Chicago, and KGO in San Fran, all of which air a news talk format. Rush Limbaugh, perhaps the biggest star of conservative talk and recent Twitter deactivator, is syndicated by another company, Premier Networks, through its, though his program is heard on many Cumulus-owned stations. Now, Crudy, Premier Networks, is that still owned by iHeartRadio?
My understanding, yes. The EIB network, excellence in broadcasting, self-described, of course.
Limbaugh isn't subject to Cumulus's memo. Another one of Cumulus's talk stars, Ben Shapiro, has gone against the grain of conservative talk by telling listeners that Trump has been wrong in his claims that the election was rigged.
Charlie Kirk, you know that guy? He was bragging about the number of bus loads of the young Nazi youth they had bussed into D.C. for the big insurrection march last week, Dom.
Woohoo!
Bit more.
Very excited about that.
I've got a breaking press release from the governor of the great state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin National Guard troops mobilized to support Capitol Police in Madison. Tony's calling out the National Guard. Big events, big happenings this weekend. Governor Tony Evers today authorized the Wisconsin National Guard to support Wisconsin's Capitol Police. Members of the Wisconsin National Guard will mobilize to state active duty to support safety and security efforts at the state capitol in Madison. The troops are part of the Wisconsin National Guard Reaction Force, which consists of troops trained to respond to requests for assistance on short notice. The Wisconsin National Guard will serve in a support role to local authorities and conduct a site security mission. Site security missions. That mean you disarm the Trumpsters? I doubt it. Here's a quote from the governor. Actually, it's from Major General Paul Knapp. My bad. Once again, our state has asked our citizen soldiers and the Wisconsin National Guard to answer the call to keep our state, its citizens, and its institutions safe. Again, Major General Paul Knapp said. He is Wisconsin's adjunct general. Continuing with his quote, we ask a lot of our troops who must take leave of their civilian employers and their families, and I'm proud of their sacrifices they make on a daily basis to serve their fellow citizens. The mobilized troops will serve in a state active duty status in support of the Capitol Police. To protect operational security, the Wisconsin National Guard will not discuss troop numbers, movements, timelines, equipment, tactics, or procedures, Dom. Not even with the devil's advocates.
844-967-2789. Some probably a wise move given the warning from the FBI that there will be armed protests. That's a nice way to put it, in all 50 capitals over the inauguration weekend.
Armed insurrectionists coming to town, domestic terrorists coming to a capital city near you.
How did Washington, D.C., how the Capitol Police, DHS, the Sergeant at Arms for the Senate, and how this was missed, how this was totally unforeseen and caught off guard is shocking to me. And obviously, I have a feeling that there's a story to be told there, and I look forward to hearing it.
You know who could have done something about it? Maybe done a little investigatory hearings. The guy that heads up the Homeland Security Government Affairs Committee. His gag.
Not anymore.
Rojo.
Ron Johnson?
Yeah, Ron
he
Johnson.
doesn't have that anymore, right?
Well, he was busy investigating the alleged conflicts of interest of Hunter Biden.
Yeah, but they didn't use any of the information from the Russian agent working for Ukraine. He swears.
Well, and above and beyond that, Dom, of course, the hydroxychloroquine, the
Very
quackery.
important.
Well, that happened at the Capitol very recently as well. Rojo had a gavel at that point. But this weekend, in response to the assault on the U.S. Capitol Wednesday, a car caravan made its way to Madison's Capitol Square to U.S. Senator Ron Johnson's Madison office Saturday afternoon to call for his resignation. Johnson, who has promoted baseless allegations of widespread fraud in the presidential election, let's not leave that out, Tom, had been one of several senators determined to challenge the certification of electors in several key states. Biden won, but reversed himself following the riot. The caravan of some 40 cars, led by several local groups like Madison chapters of the Democratic Socialist of America and Allies for Black Lives, crawled through Madison's east side and eventually ended up in front of Johnson's office, where loudspeakers were set up. Remember when they did that to Manuel Noriega down in Panama? We just played loud music all the time. People took turns leading chants and giving speeches. And that's most of the story, Dom. So if you were trying to shut down Rojo's Madison office, what music would you play?
Some Van Halen, man. Of course.
How about Motley Crue? Shout at the devil.
Shout at the devil. Give us a call. 844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. Wisco Paul, you will be next. Welcome, Paul. What do you got today?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, good afternoon, Devils. Right-wing talk radio is a little late to the party because they hold blame on what happened. You might have to do some fact-checking on what I'm about to say, but nothing like this has happened since the War of 1812, for goodness sakes. That's the last time the Capitol was taken over, and that's an amazing fact right there in itself. And every time I think we hit bottom, there's always Rojo and Walker to talk about. I don't know which one's worse at this point.
Rojo,
always
because
said
he actually, Rojo's worse because he has power. Walker is just insignificant, wannabe, never was much, at least not as a national character. He's just tweeting for relevance for all his might. But Rojo's actually a sitting U.S. senator. He's more problematic at this point.
So he's like the British when they took over the capital in 1812. It doesn't get much worse. And well, I guess it could get worse when the inauguration takes place. But I have something you might have to fact check. I am told that up in St. Croix County, that's up north of Eau Claire, I think, Hudson, somewhere in there, the chair of the Republican Party for that county is declaring war on all Democrats in that county. Now, and he stands by his statement. Now, give me a break. You can't even kind of tone down the rhetoric yet. So that tells me that there's still all kinds of hate out there. I mean, when I drive around South Central Wisconsin and sometimes in Central Wisconsin, I still see plenty of Trump signs. So, you would think they would be shamed to take them down, but I guess not. So, I don't know what's going to happen now. Like I said, boys, when I think we've hit bottom, hey, I'll ask you that question. This is the last time I'm going to ask it. Have we hit bottom yet, Diamond Cruz?
What's the worst that could happen, Wisco Paul?
Thank you, Paul. The answer is no.
We have not hit bottom?
Unfortunately. I don't think so. I mean, we still got another 9 days of Trump. We got a long way we could possibly go. And for real on this, I mean, I'm very concerned about the man's mental health. Again, obviously considering the most recent events, but this has been he's got a track record, right? I mean, we can see how he reacts, and I'm very concerned for the next 9 days. I just really am. So while I would be hopeful, and I am hopeful for the future, these next 9 days they're gonna be holding our breath a lot. Thanks.
Well, Dominic, they're boarding up the windows at the Wisconsin State Capitol. And just for those late to the party, Paul referenced the St. Croix County Republican Party. The leader there told members to prepare for war and to remove leftist tyrants from local office. I'm going to read just briefly again. We touched on this article earlier, Wisco Paul. Where were you in the 2:00 hour?
Come on, man.
He posted first in Latin and then translated. If you want peace, prepare for war. Political patriots are then encouraged, according to Daniel Bice, to join the digital battlefield. It's time to stand and be counted as a conservative warrior in the ongoing fight to preserve our constitutional republic. We need to start local by removing leftist tyrants from all local and county positions in the future April elections. Got stuck on that part as well earlier, Dom, because it seems weird to be advocating for an election when you're advocating for insurrection because you don't like the outcome of the last election. After accusing the Marxist left and the complicit media of trying to overturn the results of the 2016 presidential election, the St. Croix Republican Party said Democrats were busy sowing chaos and using every dirty trick imaginable to win in 2020. President Trump radically changed the Republican Party in 2016. Now it's up to us to follow that lead. Patriots need to continue the fight to make sure we put America and its citizens first and hold all of our elected representatives accountable to their oaths to uphold the Constitution. As Bice said, them's fighting words. Come back with us. Devil's Advocates, we're always bringing it. It's already been brought in. Dial us up, 844-967-2789. Play this for you, Rojo, nice and loud.
You got to be honest about what it means to lead a country. It means killing people.
You're fired.
That was a hoax, right?
The Devil's Advocates. Ass, grass, or cash. Nobody rides for free.
Santa, what if the kids have unrealistic requests? Like they want a dog for Christmas, and the parents don't want to get another dog for Christmas.
Actually, Santa doesn't carry live animals. And there's a reason for that. At 36,000 feet, a live animal and a little wind current doesn't make a pretty sight.
I swear to God, I thought turkeys could fly.
Yeah, but puppies can't.
Biden won because of you. Because you stayed in line to vote even when you got tired.
because you knew that your vote is power, because you understood what was at stake. And because you showed up, we now have the power. Text ACT to 668-366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. MoveOn.org. Political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
The Devil's Advocates.
Darren from Madison tells us he's a former Capitol Police officer.
You can't even compare the two of what happened, yesterday and with Act 10.
Darren, did you, as a Capitol Police officer, ever witness any violence in the Wisconsin State Capitol?
Nope, not at all. It's about as peaceful can be when it comes to peaceful protesting. It was an unlawful assembly. But at the end of the day, there was no violence at the end of the day. It was people coming in and singing.
Listen to Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Exclamation point.
Well, it's all right.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It is the last segment of the day, so if you got something to say, don't be shy. Pick up the phone. Call us right now at 844-967-2789. We'll go to the phones in just a moment.
Dominic, we threw this headline out a couple hours ago, but I want to refresh it. U.S. Supreme Court denies request for expedited review of Donald Trump's Wisconsin election challenges. According to Riley Vetterkind at the Madison.com, the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday denied expedited review of President Donald Trump's challenges of the election results in Wisconsin and a handful of other battleground states, meaning it's highly unlikely the high court would consider any cases before President-elect Joe Biden is inaugurated on January 20th. In an unsigned order, the court denied expedited review in state and federal election cases challenging Biden's victories in Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. By denying expedited review, the cases likely won't be heard until the end of the month at the earliest, and the cases are unlikely to ever be taken up by the high court. Even if the court did take the cases up, it's unclear what relief could be provided since Congress certified Biden's victory last week. But that doesn't mean they're done trying, Dom.
The reaction by Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin to support, this effort before not supporting it after the insurrection makes, doesn't make you wonder, well, if this thing was stolen, if there's concerns, if there was fraud, if all these things occurred, what is it about the insurrection that would make you change your mind to no longer support this effort? It's almost as if like the BS he was peddling wasn't really the case. And when he saw how bad it was, what the reaction was, then he backed off. At least that's what it seems like to me. 844-967-2789. Bob from Northern California, you are next. Welcome, Bob. What do you got for us?
Hey, Bob.
Hi. Greetings, devils from the West Coast, sometimes called the left coast.
Thank you, Bob. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And the part you're in, we called the Emerald Triangle, Bob. We'd like to come visit someday soon.
Yeah, sometimes called that also, for obvious reasons. But what I wanted to talk about today, I think we should go ahead with the impeachment, to make it a second impeachment, strictly for the historical value, so that kids in school 100 years from now will know what happened during our lifetimes, and so that they will have the complete story of what happened when the Republicans were stupid enough to vote this half-wit in. What do you think?
Well, bookend impeachments, I'm less convinced of than perhaps my buddy Dominic, but certainly for the sake of the school children, because the children are our future.
Be careful. 844-967-2789. Pizza Box Mike, you are next. Welcome, my friend. What do you got for us?
Well, first of all, that last caller, stop insulting us half-wits, would you? I mean, I'm not just talking about Dom and Trudy.
Oh, come on.
And
Come on, man. I'm fully witty. I don't know about Dominic, but I'm a full wit over here.
Just ask him. He'll tell you.
I haven't been this excited since Game of Thrones. I can't wait for the next episode. You know, like I'm prepared for this Civil War.
I'm hoping for a red wedding.
I've got butter, popcorn, fresh batteries in the recliner. I'm going to cancel my movie channels and just watch this for a while, I think.
I know we jest a lot around here, but I'm not looking for the red wedding, man. I mean, I appreciate the comparisons, and entertainment is one thing, but people are dying based on the inspiration, the incitement of the president and Pizza Box. They're not going away. I mean, they're coming to Madison. They got to board up the windows so these yahoos don't cause some damage. Mike, will you be avoiding downtown Madison this weekend?
Man, I've been avoiding this crowd like the plague, like the one it's like two plagues at the same time. No, I don't. Right. Look, I went and watched them one time, and it was that day that they wouldn't let any of the porta potties off the trucks. Capitol Police, bless their hearts, wouldn't, and Madison, they wouldn't let them because of the pandemic. And somebody comes running up to me going, "You know where the bathroom is?" without a mask. And I freaked out, man. I was like, get off me, man. I probably said some other things too. I said, I'm not one of you clowns, man. And I'm not afraid to say that to him as long as I've got a place to run to when the crowd comes after me.
Well, Michael, everyone would have known that you weren't part of the crowd that day because you were wearing a mask and you forgot your AR-15.
Right.
We did see a few people wearing masks, and bless them for that, huh? Or was that just to hide their faces?
I think you're closer to true on the latter count, Michael. Appreciate your call, buddy. We get Wisco Paul in, or are we trying to sneak him in still?
No, we already had Paul. He's just listening to this fine station.
Just stowing away on our. Oh, now he hung up. Sorry about that, Paul. Didn't mean to draw attention to you. 844-967-2789. Dom, you coming to Madison this weekend? Want to go check it out?
Oh, hell no. I'll let the authorities handle the armed yahoos, because isn't that, and I'm sure it'll be fine because they all back the badge, right? Until they don't.
You know how I know that this insurrection will not be well attended on Saturday at the state capitol?
How do you know?
Packers kick off at 3:25. I mean, saving democracy from your diluted point of view as an insurrectionist is one thing, but certainly not at the expense of missing a Packers divisional game, right?
Well, no doubt, but the flip side of that coin is there's a lot of Bears fans that aren't going to be watching any football this coming weekend, so you never know. They might be, maybe they'll drive up, Madison's closer, perhaps.
The insurrectionists coming from the flatlands. Disillusioned Bears fans mad about Trump's failure to win election and Mitchell Trubinsky's failure to lead the team to victory.
Real quick, I know we're heading out here, Crudy. Any concerns that we reported earlier, and now it's being reported all over, Chad Wolf, the acting Homeland Security chief.
No, I'm glad
out.
he's out. I'm glad he's out. He would have been in charge.
Do we have a rudderless Homeland Security at the very time we need to be very concerned about Homeland Security from right-wing nationalist Trumpies?
Do you want Chad Wolf in charge of the inauguration security on behalf of Joe Biden? No. No is the answer. So be glad that Chad Wolf resigned.
Okay, so is somebody in charge?
Someone will be in charge.
Okay.
Someone's always in charge.
I hope so.
Just like last Wednesday, someone was in charge. We're the Devil's Advocates. We'll be in charge. Thank you for listening. Now stick around for our pal, Earl Ingram. And then after that, it's Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood with Alan Robinson. Happy Monday. We'll read all about the impeachment or the 25th Amendment tomorrow. That's Tuesday.
This was high crimes. This was treason. There's a good chance I may have committed some light treason.
This is like bowl of doggy doo. Put a cherry on top and call it a chocolate sundae.
It's no big deal.
Shame. Shame.
Hey, Rocker, I heard you have a rye whiskey.
I do, Jimmy. Rocker Rye Whiskey. The mash is a high rye with a touch of malted barley that makes it yummy.
And Rocker Rye Whiskey